Ben.
Hello, I'm Tom.
And you're listening to Sunglasses at Night podcast, episode, I think, 15?
It's 1996.
It is 1996.
Just in case you haven't listened before, this is the podcast where we look back through our metaphorical Ray-Bans at a year in musical history via the Australian Recording Industry Association charts, also known as the ARIAs, and ask what the hell was going on.
Absolutely right. Now, 1996, we've decided to do something where we try and paint a picture of the year, just in case, so you can put some context to these songs. Have you got any news, Tom? Anything that someone might be able to go, oh, yeah.
1996, around the world, in Britain, a bunch of cows started acting really weird. Turned out they were crazy bonkers. And then they all had to be set on fire in a less hilarious... But a bunch of scientists started acting weird and cloned a sheep.
Yep.
Global warming climbed to a record temperature, so everyone pulled their socks up and fixed the problem, so that's all sorted, so we don't have to worry about it. That was a good thing that they did.
That's good.
And a new report from America revealed that approximately 45 million people were now using the internet.
Wow.
Or, as we'd call it today, one day's views from a viral TikTok about sticking milk crates up your ass in time to Rihanna or some shit like that. So, yeah.
That's true.
It was all go.
Absolutely
96.
right. So 45 million people use the internet. Wow.
At the time. And that seemed like a lot back then. We were still wondering whether this crazy electronic mail thing was going to be a fad like Pac-Man.
Absolutely. But you're absolutely right. I mean, someone standing on top of a fridge on TikTok will get that many views these days. Oh, look at that, he's on a fridge, he's crazy. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But getting back to, so Mad Cow, you did mention that in BSE. So that, yeah, because I remember that was a big thing because obviously the cows went mad, they had to burn them all. I think it spread to some people, and people... obviously, Mad Cow, for those that don't know, it's sort of, I guess, it would affect your brain. Your brain would slowly rot, your spine, then eventually you would die. And I guess the brain rottage explains some of the songs that made it to number one this year. So it's all falling into place. Didn't know before, but now that you've mentioned BSE, a lot of these songs are making a lot more sense.
That's true.
For sure. I guess, was it like syphilis a little bit? Not sexually transmitted, but your brain did rot a bit. The biggest film of the year, Tom... Independence Day.
Wow. Yes. That was huge, yeah.
Really good, great film. Will Smith, he didn't do a rap for that one. He usually, he does the Man in Black or, Wild Wild West or whatever bullshit. He didn't do...
He could have managed Wiki Independence Day.
Wiki Independence Day, something about punching aliens, and everyone would have loved it. And I love how well that film has aged because for those that, if you haven't seen Independence Day, spoiler alert, I'm not gonna do that thing where you don't talk about the plot because you've had 25 years, let's face it. If you haven't seen it by now, you're going to watch it. But at the end of Independence Day, obviously to overcome the aliens, they have to insert a computer virus into their spaceships. Yes. And fortunately, the alien spaceships had a sort of 3.5-inch floppy disk drive.
Yes.
Sort of in the spaceship that they could put the virus, upload it in there and get it going.
The alien mothership was Mac compatible.
It was Mac compatible as well. So, but look, everyone suspended their disbelief there and just went, it's okay, it's fine, no problem. Will Smith can punch an alien in the face, he can do that. And who was the president in that? Was it
it was Bill Pullman.
Good, that's good.
And
great president.
Yeah.
It would have been funny if he was the actual president now in 2021 because that's the way the world's going.
Would have been frankly, because he'd be better than any. In fact, pretty much any actor from American TV/movie history that you can think of who has played the president would be better than the current
actual presidents.
3 or 4 of them, and I include the black. I include what's his name, Terry Crews from Idiocracy, who is an ex-wrestler who's fond of punctuating presidential decrees in Congress by firing a machine gun into the air.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, how far away are we from seeing a president that was a former wrestler, do you think, in the US?
Well, they've already had a governor of... where was that?
Of California. Oh, no, Jesse Ventura, wasn't it? Yeah, that's true. So you're right, it's the next step. I'd like to see The Rock, I think, as president. I think he would do a great job.
I could actually believe that. Although, was he born in America? Is he... Hawaiian?
We'll find out. I think he might be,
will.
but I think he was born in America, but we best confirm that because certainly I'd hate to hitch myself to the rock for 2024 only to find out that he's not eligible. So.
I'm pretty sure that Arnie would have made a run if he'd been allowed to.
Oh, absolutely right.
Much. He got about as close as he could. He married a Kennedy, for fuck's sake.
I think, and that's, I don't want to comment a lot about the American sort of their laws and whatever because they're all completely crazy and make no sense. But that one, I'd love to see it change because I think, you're right. Just because you're born overseas, you should be able to be president of America.
Sure.
Yeah, although sometimes I wish that we had the same thing in Australia because it would have ruled out, a lot of our former prime ministers, Tony Abbott, for example. But
was he not born in Australia?
I think he's born in England or something. So we could have struck a few out just based off that. But alas, anyway.
Sorry. And other cultural news, just quickly. After pretending to be a true blue gangster for years, middle-class musician Tupac Shakur achieved the highest honour of getting shot in a drive-by by corrupt cops with gang connections, probably. In less trashy news, Janet Jackson became the highest paid musician in history when she signed an $80 million deal with Virgin Records. And unusually for one of those deals, she even had some hits afterwards. So,
do you think they were able
a few hits for their $80 million?
Yeah, were they able to recoup?
Of money. That's $80 million in 1996 dollars too.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Look,
pre-recession dollars.
Now, Tom, people might say they lost out big on that because there's no way that they would have recouped $80 million off Janet Jackson. But remember, Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson are the same person. Michael Jackson faked his own death, so
I keep forgetting
she's
scientific theory.
She's him now, so effectively. So he's doing all the stuff, writing all the songs, etc. So they'll probably get that money back, I guess. So that's all right.
Sure.
Should we move on to the music?
Sure. No, that's fine. I had one thing. This was the year that Triple J arrived in Launceston, which meant that we didn't have to listen to 7LA anymore.
Yep.
I was going to try and bring up a list of 7LA playlists so you could show what we were missing out on, having now had a radio station that played music for people under 65. But I couldn't find any. It's really hard to find old Australian chart stuff. It's weird.
Oh, look, so it seems that
outside of the ARIAs, it's hard to find radio station playlists.
Look, so for those in Launceston, they were getting less LaBouche and more presidents of the United States of America.
Oh,
so
not
it was
even
a pretty
that.
Sweet deal.
No, that's way too grungy and rock. They were still playing Bat Out of Hell 1, and that was the rock section in the evening.
Yep.
You were more likely to win a rose for requesting, I don't know, fucking Celine Dion or something equally nauseating.
Look, I think I definitely probably sent a request into 7LA with Tom Cochrane, Life is a Highway on the back of the envelope, and I did win that Will's Music Bar voucher, so it was well worth it.
Nobody else cares about this.
No, not at all. Let's move on. Let's get into niche Launceston-based stuff people probably don't give two shits about. 1996... Week 1 for 2 more weeks, following on from 1995. 2 more weeks of Gangsta's Paradise, Tom.
Yep.
So people said 11 weeks in 1995 is not enough. We need 2 more in 1996. 13 weeks. So that was good stuff.
Yeah.
I remember last week I just forgot that we did things like the Spotify and the Discogs. Remember, I just forgot that.
Yep.
Like as if the break that we'd had from doing this of 2 months, I'd completely forgotten all of those great things that, and that I get so many emails, Tom, and letters and things from fans on the TikTok, on the Twitter saying, I really like it when you tell us how many people listen to this on Spotify. So absolutely. So look, I have gone back. Coolio, 8 million per month. Monthly listeners on Spotify. You got to remember though, Gangsta's Paradise as well. You remember it's Coolio featuring LV. It's not just Coolio, it's Coolio featuring LV. Coolio 8 million, LV has 21,000.
Yeah.
So he has not quite boded as well from this. So I assume that Coolio made all the cash. LV, he's probably still DJing somewhere, probably in Launceston.
What did it stand for? Large...
I can't recall.
It was large volume.
Yeah, I think it was.
Something,
that sounds about right, yeah. So Coolio and LV both got a lot of listeners. Well, not LV, Coolio does. And you can pick this up for 2 cents on Discogs because they would have printed about a billion of these, I'd say.
100%,
So
yeah.
absolutely, you could build the information superhighway on the crushed Coolio CDs if that was required. So there you go. So that was 2 weeks. Moving on, 20th of January for 2 weeks. This is the first new number one of the year. George Michael, who's is a favourite on the show. We speak about George a lot.
Pop up a lot.
Talk about George a lot. This one is Jesus to a Child. Now, Tom, this one, look, he talks. The lyrics to this song are sort of unusual. He does sort of mention in there that the lyrics are, "You smiled at me like Jesus to a child." Now, this raises the question: Jesus is known for a lot of things, rising, from the dead, walking on water. These aren't things he really did. His PR department, Jesus's PR crew, were able to convince people to put in his biography that he was, rose from the dead. Walked on water, the fish and the loaves and the fishes. I think he cured some blind kid or some shit like that. But no mention of him smiling at children a lot. But George Michael has put those lyrics in here. He said, so I assume that George Michael, he's done the research like Dan Brown did for the Da Vinci Code, and he realises that one of Jesus's big things was that he smiled a lot of children. Mm-hmm. That's what he's known for. George Michael said Jesus is known for smiling at children. Now, interestingly, I've looked on the internet and people tend to say there's only 5 types of people that smile at children a lot. Parents, uncles or aunts and other family members, teachers, children's doctors, and pedophiles. Now, I don't know what George Michael's trying to say here, what he's implying, but I think what he's trying to say is that, look, Jesus wasn't a father as where, I don't think so. He didn't have any brothers or sisters. He wasn't an uncle. Definitely wasn't a teacher or a sports coach for kids or a kid's doctor. So I'm not saying that Jesus was a pedophile, but I think that's what George Michael's implying that he is.
Perhaps George Michael knew something that we don't.
I think so. And look, we know a lot more about child grooming these days than we did back 2,000 years ago. People on the internet grooming children are always, pretending to be something they're not. These days you see those people that are like, I'm the new Jesus. They're not, obviously, or, cult leaders. They're pretending to have some sort of connection to God. And it seems like a pretty good ruse, doesn't it? Like, for Jesus to just say, God's my dad. I
can do you favours.
Exactly right. So I think, the new Jesuses, they're all in it for the chicks and the cash. And generally sex with underage people. And it sounds like to me that Jesus was actually just the original fake Jesus, if that makes sense. So, every Jesus that comes out today,
very convincing, that
says, I'm the new Jesus, they're fake. They're not real. No one's the real Jesus. And I think that the OG Jesus in the Bible, that guy, he's just the fake Jesus as well. So I think so. He's smiling at a lot of children. So it's all pretty sketchy. I think George Michael was sort of basically written this song.
He was. I mean, when you think about it, George Michael was extremely good at grooming himself.
Oh, exactly.
So maybe he could recognise grooming when he saw it happening.
He certainly could.
Other people,
I think so.
Like in the Catholic Church, for instance.
Well, definitely. I mean, I think that goes without saying. So this song, look, I think it's a pretty hard pill to swallow for fans out there.
It's hella boring.
It sucks.
It's another one of those 90s songs that reminds you of how much fun power ballads were. It's kind of like a sort of piss-weak, low-tempo, vaguely Latin-tinged thing that you just forget pretty much instantly after.
Yeah, and it doesn't fill me with any joy to say this because, as I mentioned, we're big George Michael fans here. We've enjoyed his work. Faith, Careless Whisper with a saxophone.
Some great pop songs.
A lot of great, even
danceable songs.
Absolutely, even his Wham shit, Wake Me Up Before You Go. Last Christmas, which is one of my favourite Christmas songs.
But he doesn't have like when you compare him to someone like Whitney Houston, who started off doing pop and then got more, ballady.
Yeah,
he doesn't have the voice to really pull this off. It's just very low tempo. Like it doesn't build to anything. He just kind of sings at about the same level all the way through the song, and
Exactly. Look, so this song, boring as all hell, but it does expose Jesus as a pedophile. So that's one probably good thing about it. I think that is really, really important. So I guess Christianity has a pretty bad track record, don't they? Really, with the Catholic Church and Catholic education. Discuss the current Australian of the Year.
Or ask the Prime Minister of Australia, whose spiritual advisor covered up his own dad's serial pedophilia, but remains the head of the globally famous Hillsong Church. And as if I even need to say it, none of those people went to jail, obviously, in case I even need to mention that when talking about a rapist connected to Scott Morrison. But,
certainly.
Yeah, so, remember, if you go to Hillsong, you're directly funding.
You are absolutely,
pedophile.
absolutely right, absolutely, and it's good that George Michael had brought these things to light before he passed away. He had he knew these secrets, he exposed them, and George Michael, I think, what's that?
It was a real national treasure thing, except with pedophilia instead of the Constitution of America.
Well, there was that film a few years ago that won an Academy Award, didn't it? About, was it the Washington Post sort of that did Spotlight or something?
Yes.
So so exposing this sort of stuff. I think George Michael should get some sort of Academy Award.
Me too.
I think, because he's exposing stuff. And also, I'd just like to see a film of his life. I think someone should...
I would like to see that as well. I think if you avoided the fucking Freddie Mercury route and did the Elton John version where you're allowed to just kind of take the piss as well and show him as, a bit trashy and a bit, silly as well, it could be really fun. Because, what an interesting time you would have lived through.
I would cast Nicolas Cage as George Michael. Does that work for you? Or it doesn't?
You'd need to get one of those extremely convincing wigs that he often wears.
He loves them. Anything else for this, Tom? What
In
do you
an
got from him?
interview with People magazine, George Michael stated that Jesus to a Child was one of the two songs he was most proud of as a solo artist, the other one being You Have Been Loved. He said that he went through an awful lot of emotional pain to write them, and I know how he felt because I went through a lot of emotional pain having to listen to them because they both suck ass, which I don't enjoy saying because lyrically he's talking about his partner who died of AIDS in 1993. That's what this song is about.
Is it?
Yeah, that is what he's talking about. He's describing his partner looking at him, when he visits him in hospital. So
why didn't you tell me that before I just sort of did the whole...
Well, the lyrics are very earnest, as you'd expect, and I guess whether or not they succeed depends on how much you want to be looked at like Jesus to a child. Yeah. So, he basically spends the entire song trying to describe one look, and like whether they work or not depends on whether you think that it works lyrically, as what he's trying to describe. But it obviously meant a lot to him anyway.
Yeah.
But, but as we'll see later on this year, he clearly had some other issues that he managed to work out on the dance floor. So, he didn't hang around moping too long.
Certainly didn't.
So
that's correct. That is absolutely
But still,
correct.
that must have sucked. And also, it must have really sucked even more back in that time because, again, he's still not openly gay at this point.
No.
So you have to watch your partner die without even being allowed to, publicly... mourn him or anything. I mean, that sucks.
Absolutely, and that was sort of, look, we talked about George, not being able to be openly gay in the early 80s, and here we are 10 years on, and it's still the same situation. So, definitely, it is.
That was a bit of a downer.
It's a bit of a downer, but, spotlight on an important issue, so it's good.
On an equally solemn... full tone.
14 million on Spotify.
He's got a lot.
46 cents for this, so there you go.
Career.
He did, absolutely. So R.I.P. George.
He fitted a lot into it anyway.
Definitely. Up next for 6 weeks, Mr. Lover himself, Tom, Shaggy with Boombastic.
Yep.
You're a big Shaggy fan?
I feel like I'm missing something with Shaggy, but maybe I'm too white, maybe I'm not Jamaican enough, I don't know.
Yeah, look, the lyrics of this song start off with, she calls me Mr. Boombastic, Mr. Fantastic. Do you think anyone has ever called anyone ever Mr. Boombastic? Not just Shaggy, but do you reckon...
No.
No, that's the part of this song I find hard to believe. The other parts about, Mr. Fantastic, yep, buy that. Every other lyric in the song I can believe, but she calls me Mr. Boombastic, I'm like, I'm not on board with that.
I'm thinking that maybe the original version of the song when he was writing it was she calls me Mr. Fantastic, but he couldn't think of a single word that rhymed with fantastic, so then he had to make one up. And
Boombastic, worked backwards from fantastic. That's probably right.
Perhaps he heard the term bombastic and thought that it was boombastic, which it isn't.
Mr. Boombastic. Anyway, look, it's probably the only song that I know of, and look, I can't confess to have listened to every song that's ever been recorded. I've listened to a lot, but this is one of the few songs that I know that has the line, well, you are the bun and me the cheese. What does it mean? Is it very literal?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't even really work as a sexual metaphor, does it?
You are the bun and I am the cheese.
And then he says something about you're the rice and I'm the peas, I think.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he rhymes cheese with peas, but look, it works for me. It works for me. Can you get away if you meet someone that you're in a relationship with, you meet someone that you would like to be in a relationship with, and you say you're the bun? Would they take that as a compliment? I think so. It depends. If it's one of those KFC buns that comes in like a 3-piece feed that's quite soft and pillowy and genuinely delicious, you'd take that as a compliment. But if it's a 4-day-old sort of stale Baker's Delight type bun, you may take offence at that. So I don't know which way Shaggy was playing, but I assume it would be sort of a soft, maybe a brioche type bun. That's the bun that I picture when Shaggy is referring to someone as a bun. Definitely a brioche, something French, definitely brioche. 2007, he received the Jamaican Order of Distinction with the rank of Commander.
Okay.
Because, he spent some time in the military, I believe. I think he in the Marines, Tom?
I think so, yes. I mean, I think, reading between the lines, I think this is basically a guy who joined the Marines so he could get laid.
Yes, correct.
And in this video of a song about how rad he is at picking up chicks, he's still dressed like the token black friend from American Pie 6, Stifler's funeral fuckdown. The 90s were a great time, Ben. They really were, provided you owned a factory that produced XXXL collarless flannel shirts with only one button at nipple height. I mean, you would be laughing all the way to the bank.
Absolutely
while dragging along the ground because your shirt was so big.
But you save money on buttons, and that was the thing that those manufacturers...
What I'm trying to say is that he joined the Marines so he could wear a cool uniform, and then in this video he still looks like a backup dancer from the music video of, She's All That or something
Absolutely.
like that.
Look, there's an SBS Vice, so you can watch it on YouTube as well, called The Story Of, and they do an episode on Shaggy's... not this song, but It Wasn't Me, which we may get to talk about in the future, I think, Tom, I have a feeling. But in that, they asked Shaggy, what happened. He said, I'd moved from Jamaica to Brooklyn. I was living in Brooklyn at the time.
In Jamaica.
Had a few friends that had sort of, because of the crack epidemic, had sort of got caught up, I think, in maybe selling drugs or whatever, and some of them went to prison. So Shaggy was like, I just wanted to get as far away from that as possible, so I went... I thought maybe I should sign up to be a Marine. Went into the office, saw the uniform and thought, I can get laid in this, and then signed up. So it was effectively, you're right, Tom, I think he joined the Marines just to bang chicks. And I think that's probably the best reason to join the Marines, isn't it? Yeah, I'd say so. Not to fight wars or, take down terrorists or anything like that. So,
right. But
Shaggy was on top of his game right there with this song. And people, I think, didn't realise... that his name wasn't Shaggy. It was Orville Burrell.
Well, then suddenly Shaggy makes a bit more sense, doesn't it?
do you think would he have been as successful sticking with that name? Orville Burrell. I think Shaggy. No. I think you got to choose, and he's gone for the one name as well, sort of like a Sher style thing, which is pretty good. But I find, I don't know, have you, I didn't do any research because I'm too lazy, like where the name Shaggy came from.
No idea.
But anyway, it suits him well. I can't imagine calling him anything else,
to be honest. Shagging, I guess.
Yeah, I hope so. This song was the theme to a popular claymation Levi's ad in the UK at this time.
I believe that.
Yes, so I don't know whether that increase the sale of jeans or decrease the sale of jeans.
It is a sort of cartoony song. Even in the video where he's trying to look sexy, it just doesn't really suit the song particularly. It's too sort of bouncy and boink, boink, boink. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, we'll talk about this probably. I've got some notes here about his future, but I feel like we might have to talk about Shaggy more in the future, so maybe I shouldn't talk about all this, but I will say that a few years after this, Shaggy got dropped by his label Virgin after this song, because they felt that he was unlikely to release another song as successful as Boombastic. They said, you're done, you're not going to do anything as good as this, so they got rid of him, and then he signed with DreamWorks, released the album Hot Shot, and that sold 10 million copies. So
good one, Branson.
Yeah, Branson,
fake astronaut.
he's dropped the ball again, hasn't he? I think he could have gone to, if he had kept Shaggy, he could have gone into space 5 years ago. He could have been living on Mars now, but he fucked it. So
I did find Shaggy, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a different thing for rappers because they're very into the collaboration type stuff. But Shaggy he might possibly be up there for an award for most collaborated artist. He's got at least 82 separate single collaboration
Does he?
songs. Yeah, that's not just those are singles. These aren't even, and this isn't even getting started on albums that he's worked on and stuff. What's your favourite Shaggy collaboration?
Oh, there's so many, Tom.
We've actually talked about more than one on this already. I'm just struggling to remember. There was he did fucking I've Got You Babe with Meryl Bainbridge on her follow up to that one hit song that she had. What was it? Mouth.
Yeah, that's definitely my Shaggy and Meryl Bainbridge is certainly that's peak 90s. I think that's a good one. But look, I think. I like all these collaborations, Tom, just because, especially later on, he does collaborations where he's the lead artist, but he gets the other guy to do 95% of the work.
Yes, exactly. That's my favourite. He just sits up the back.
He just goes, Mr. Lover, please. And so he gets all the cash, and it's sort of, he just outsources it, so that's good. What about you, Tom? You got a favourite?
I'm a big fan of Me Julie with Ali G, Bromance 2K18 remix with Mark Mysterio, and two separate collaborations with Sting. Don't Make Me Wait and Silent Night brackets Christmas Is Coming, both of which definitely aren't about tantric sex. Get your mind out of the gutter. That's not what they're about. Yeah, lyrically, by the standards of Shaggy lyrics, this is surprisingly unfilthy.
Yeah.
It's actually it's just a guy sort of trying to pick up a girl, by telling her how great you are. That's hardly unusual, but like, say, verse 2... Girl, you captivate my body, put me under a spell with your couscous perfume. I love your sweet smell. You're the only young girl who can ring my bell, and I can take rejection, so you tell me go to hell. So she tells him to fuck off, but in grand romantic tradition, he keeps hassling her for checks notes, 6 more verses. Yep. And then the next day, she catches him banging the neighbour on the bathroom floor.
Yep.
So that's the Shaggy method.
It is the Shaggy method, and that's okay. But I find that less creepy than, was it Boris Gardner from a few episodes about the guy that just followed a chick around all day?
Yeah, at least he's walking up to the girl and saying, let's have sex, instead of following her with the high-powered infrared night vision goggles.
Absolutely. Look, I'm a big fan of Shaggy just for bringing some of the old... dance hall vibe style into the pop charts.
Yeah, that's true. What struck me about listening to this was it's slow. It's quite slow. Like, it's got that kind of that sort of grind, that sort of dance hall ragga grind thing. So I mean, there's something authentic there. It was probably the first thing like that most white people had heard. Certainly me. Certainly
right. Yeah, absolutely. So Shaggy's got 12 mil on the Spotify to this day. Monthly listeners on Spotify, 12 million.
He must have a big audience at home. I mean, he's still going. He's still that one I was joking about. That was the 2018 remix. Yep. He's still dropping hits.
Absolutely. And look, you might not hear him that often because in the songs that he does sing, he usually has another guy doing most of it. So
and there was actually a note as well. Yeah, they said last year Rihanna called him up. He said in some interview, Rihanna called me up and asked if I wanted to collaborate with her. And I said, no, I'll leave that to the young guys. He's 53 now.
Yep.
He's still doing music, but I thought that was pretty cool.
Absolutely right. Give a young person a chance. For sure. Good on you, Shaggy. I appreciate that. And you can get a copy of this for 23 cents on Discogs. So.
That's more than I would have thought.
Absolutely. But look, it's a good stocking stuff.
Listeners, that's a lot.
It is. Yep. He's got a lot of hits. People love the Shaggy.
Sure.
So that was for 2 weeks. Up next, 10th of Feb for 1 week, Oasis, Wonderwall.
Fuck, that was massive.
Now, Tom, which side of the fence did you fall in the Britpop battle? Were you a Blur man or were you an Oasis man?
I preferred Blur, although if I ever hear that Woohoo song ever again, I'm going to pump the nearest British tourist directly into a karaoke machine.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
But Oasis just seemed so up themselves.
Yep.
Oh,
look, it seems stupid as fuck now, but there was a legit. You can only like one band or the other.
It was. I mean, it wasn't just a record. It wasn't just a media thing. The record companies actually they would aim their singles to come out at the same time, so it would turn into a thing, and then their fans would go and buy more to try. It was. Yeah.
For two bands whose music was relatively similar I'm not going to say identical, but similar-ish they'd fall under the same sort of umbrella.
Yeah, it was Britpop. This is the height of the Britpop.
I would have just assumed that one might enjoy both bands.
Well, most people probably do.
Yeah, but absolutely. Maybe the Britpop battle was a little bit more overplayed in the media than in reality. I'm not sure. sure it probably wasn't quite 1066, was it? I guess we're sort of fighting for the future of your country or anything. But yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. Look, I think I like Oasis. They've got some, legitimately good songs. Champagne Supernova, Don't Look Back in Anger, the good stuff. But you're right, the brothers extraordinarily arrogant, which is sort of can detract for some people.
They were it's easy to look at them now and think of them as these kind of weather-beaten old rock stars who've been through it all, but they were acting like that from day one.
Oh yeah,
they were acting like they'd had 10 Beatles-level albums halfway through the release of their first album. It's not just that they wanted to be musicians; they wanted to be rock stars and live that exact life that they'd seen on the TV and stuff. But they did get a long way because they were, like you say, they were. Noel Gallagher was always good for an interview. He was always the brains of the outfit. So they managed to do that thing of by acting very stupidly, then when they did smart things, people would go, oh, well, they're cleverer than they look, It's well, good, because they look like a couple of monkeys that have been put into polar fleeces and nylon anoraks sent to go and watch trains go under a bridge for a hobby or something like that.
Definitely.
With a copy of Loaded rolled up sticking out of their back pocket.
Since the band's broken up, though, I think Noel Gallagher's just made a career out of shitting on his brother for 20 years. So I think that's
both of them,
sort of funny in itself, I guess. So, and there's Noel Gallagher doing the video commentary on the Oasis DVD, which is legitimately quite funny. So,
but like I said, I've never heard him give a bad interview,
no.
Even when he's visibly hungover as fuck.
Definitely. Well, that's what this is. Someone as I've not seen the whole thing, but somebody's watched the video, the audio commentary on the Oasis, which just has all their music videos, and it's just him commentating over all the videos. Someone's edited the bits together, put it together, and it's just him just going, "Oh, I was fucking drunk in this. I can't remember any of this." And then the song would come, and he's just like, "Fucking hell, this is bullshit. This is so shit." And just talks about how every time he makes a music video, the director thinks they're making Apocalypse Now, but it's just always some bullshit, and he hates it. And how he would just suggest the stupidest shit, and then they'd do it, and it's just this is fucking. Yep. So it's quite funny, I think, if you want to check that out. So,
they did a world tour shortly after this.
Yeah.
This would suggest this was big in Australia. I mean, this is the mainstream charts, but they were big on they won the Triple J Hottest 100 that year. They were
for this
much
song,
bigger on the. They sort of became a bit more mainstream.
So this is interesting because this is a crossover song where it's number one on the ARIA charts, but also the most popular song on Triple J.
Yes, yeah, it was a sort of they were kind of it's a very traditional sort of basic pop song.
It is,
but it also they had that kind of sort of alternative appeal as well, like a lot of the Britpop stuff, like Blur as well.
Yeah.
And then they toured Australia and they gave a famously shit series of concerts, which I have never seen. But yeah, their big one, I think it was in Sydney or something. And then years later, he was on the radio and they asked him about, he was doing some interview with Australian radio, probably Triple J. And he said, And he said, the guy said, what happened at that concert? And he said, I feel really bad about that, but we'd just arrived in Australia and we'd gone back to the hotel room and we had a few drinks, and then the record label rang us up and told us that we'd just signed some deal in America with some American label, and we were officially now millionaires. They'd signed us. It was £5 million or something.
Oh, wow.
So we were all we were completely unmotivated to give it. So we all got massively fucked up that night, of course, because we just found out we're millionaires. And then we just really weren't that invested in the rest of the tour. It wasn't just Australia, it was just the rest of the tour was just a mess. So, at least he's sort of honest about these things. He doesn't pretend to be,
Absolutely. And look, you can't, if someone said, you've just got a couple of $1 million and then you got to go on stage now, you're probably going to be or in an hour, you're probably going to be you're excited. Yeah. Probably get pissed, I would. So, but the interesting thing about Oasis is obviously, there's the Gallagher brothers, Liam and Noel, but there's other people in this band, Tom, but I don't know.
Don't hear about them.
What their names are, what they look like, who they are. If you came up to me and said, I used to be an Oasis, Tom, I'd probably believe you. If someone held a gun to my head and said, you got to name the other two members of Oasis or even tell me anything about them,
it's
no idea.
The other three members of the Sex Pistols, if there's anyone else in the Pet Shop Boys. I don't know who that is.
Exactly. So I feel bad for those other dudes. They're sort of in the background. But if they've got those millions of pounds, then maybe they don't care because they can probably still go into the Tesco and do their shopping and not get stopped and be like, Noel Gallagher can't do that. He's hassled out by fans. But if you're the bass player or the drummer in Oasis, you can probably just live a pretty regular life. So that's okay. So the album from which this appeared was What's the Story Morning Glory, which was released on Creation Records and sold 22 million copies. So that did pretty well. Yeah. Now, it was claimed that, and somewhat rebutted, I think, in recent years, that the My Bloody Valentine album, Loveless, which took 2 years to make, almost bankrupted Creation Records. Apparently they spent so much money on this, the record label almost folded, almost went bankrupt because this band just blew all their cash on producing this album. But I think they're probably able to recoup some of the costs after selling 22 million Oasis albums. So I think you're probably all right. And in many ways, Oasis was probably, that cash was then able to go and subsidise some other more dog shit releases that the label did in future years once, I think, the drugs took hold, Tom. What else you got for me?
Not a lot, really. Yeah. I just thought, it is weird that they were this band that seemed to exist on the tension between the brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, they both, after Oasis folded, they both went off and did side projects when they couldn't finally work together without just starting actual fist fights on stage. Noel did High Flying Birds and Liam went off to a band called BDI. And they were both legitimately pretty good. They sold a lot of records, they were critically acclaimed acts, but neither of them had that spark that Oasis had, even when they were being, just wankers. I mean, do bands need to be punching on to create their best work?
I think definitely they do, Tom. I think from what I understand, all three members in Hanson, they're brothers, they get on quite well, and that's why their music's fucking dog shit. So I think you need that tension. I need that. And Bros, I think Bros fought a lot. And When Will I Be Famous still holds up today. Fantastic. So I think you're right. You need that tension. Are there any lyrical highlights for this song?
Everyone already knows
everyone knows all the words.
I mean, you could say that that's a good thing because it shows how sort of effortlessly sing-alongable most of his lyrics were.
Yep.
But on the other hand, like a lot of his lyrics, they seem more interested in rolling off the tongue than actually meaning much.
Yep.
For instance, things like all the roads we have to walk are winding and all the lights that lead us there are blinding. Does that mean anything, or is that just the only light-based adjective you could think of that rhymed with winding?
Yeah.
There are many things that I would like to say to you, but I don't know how.
Yep.
And why not? And what are the things? And who the fuck are you talking about?
Yep.
And what the fuck does that have to do with a wonder wall? What is a wonder wall? Well, I can answer that question because the rest of them certainly aren't in the song. The song was originally called Wishing Stone, but Noel later changed it to Wonderwall, which comes from the title of a George Harrison soundtrack album. Sorry, Ben, I know you get furiously angry when I suggest that Oasis were borrowing shit from the Beatles, but there you are. You certainly wouldn't get it from the video to the song where Liam sings the entire thing sitting down with a John Lennon haircut and John Lennon sunglasses indoors, the mono-brown Mancunian twat. But yeah.
Yeah, look, I think maybe, you probably do end up borrowing a bit from... Maybe everyone just ends up borrowing something from the Beatles at some stage.
Oh, totally. So, I'm not saying, but I mean, it was, it's borderline.
Yeah. But...
borderline... Not plagiarism, it's just
Yeah, for sure.
When somebody loves something so much that it starts to get a bit clingy and embarrassing.
Yeah. I think what I'm surprised is, Tom, is that how good the lyrics actually are, because I imagine they're on so much drugs and alcohol at this stage. The fact that they can string two words together probably...
This was their second record.
Yeah, okay. They probably weren't quite as fucked as they were later on, in terms of the alcohol.
What was the cocaine one was the one after this, I think.
Yep.
That's the one that's got champagne even over on it and stuff, where you're just going, what are you talking about now?
I really like that song, but the lyrics make no sense.
Yeah.
It's all good. Look, 16 million listeners for Oasis, so the kids still love this.
Oh, sure.
28 cents for this. I will say that this is actually one of their...
They'll do a fucking reunion. It'll happen in the next 10 years.
Yeah? You think? The brothers keep saying they never will. They never will. Well, you're right. If someone says, we'll give you £1 million to... we'll give you £5 million. We're never going to reunite. And then as the years go on, the money goes up because the clock is ticking. Then eventually... £25 million, I'll be like, all right, we'll get those other two guys on the phone.
I mean, you know what happened this year? ABBA got back together to release a song. I don't know if they're touring or not, but...
They're touring as holograms, Tom.
Really?
They're still alive. Yeah, they're doing a hologram tour. They're not even dead yet.
That makes more sense. They were offered, I think it was 2005, they were offered $1 billion to get back together.
Jesus.
Yes, and they turned it down. That's $250 million each.
That's
and they
insane.
turned it down, which A, shows you how much money they must already have.
Yep.
But B, shows you how much they really didn't want to work together. Like, they famously, none of them attended their producer's manager's funeral because they all hated him so much that, And yet, when I saw they were back together, I found myself thinking, how much did they offer them this time? Like, $2 billion.
It'd have to be that. That seems crazy. I think even if you didn't like the people, you'd take the $1 billion because, everyone needs a doomsday prepper bunker in New Zealand, don't they? So they cost money. You just do it for a show. So
maybe they've already got one.
They probably already have that. Exactly right. So look, 1 week for that. Then after that, Shaggy was back. He's back for a couple more weeks. People just went, we couldn't get enough of that boombastic. We're back for another couple of weeks. And then moving on, 16th of March for 4 weeks, Tom, one of my all-time favourites, Joan Osborne, One of Us.
What if God was one of us?
It's absolutely right. What if God was one of us? Now, look, as we mentioned last week, Tom, good art provides more questions than answers, and this song is just a series of questions. Are you able to answer them for me, Tom? I'm going to hit them at you rapid fire. What if God was one of us? It's kind of rhetorical, I get. What would you do? What?
I mean, he'd be less likely to do miracles, I guess.
That's true.
I struggle to do one miracle a day.
Yeah. What if he was just a slob like one of us?
I'd feel better about myself.
Yeah, I think so. You're right, because you'd sort of just be like, look, God hasn't ironed his shirt for this Zoom meeting.
That's right.
And why do I need to as well?
Put on 10 kilos during lockdown.
Yeah. What if God was just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home?
Well, then I'd probably treat him like I currently do now, which is trying to avoid him.
You would avoid, yeah, exactly. Someone's like, that's God on that metro bus going to Prospect.
He's talking to himself loudly at the front. He's got a
Bluetooth
rattling bag of cans at his feet.
Absolutely. If God had a name, what would it be?
Well, if he's on the bus at 2 a.m. coming back from Devonport, I'd say it's probably Davo.
Davo, yeah. Or Boner, I reckon. So probably that. And would you call it to his face?
Oh, no, he's got a neck tattoo. I'm not going
I would not go anywhere near him. And what would you ask him if you had just one question?
Do you still like G-Unit as much as you did when you got that neck tattoo that says G?
That's true. That's true, absolutely.
What about you? You could think of something better.
One question for God. I'd probably ask him what is the deal with airline food, Tom, I think. So I don't know.
It remains open, doesn't it?
It does. It does very much so.
Experts are baffled.
So this song is just a series of questions. If God had a face, what would it look like? I think you've already described it. It's sort of like... I reckon God, if he had a face, he looks like someone who's been on meth for 20, 25 years. A little bit gaunt. He's got the neck tattoo.
But a rad head of hair.
He's got
he's got this one of those giant TV presenter manes that just never goes away.
And a soul patch type beard. I think he would definitely have that for sure.
God's rocking the flavour saver.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. So that's definitely what he's doing. So yeah, look, this was written by a dude called Eric Bazelin, who said, quote, I wrote that song one night, the quickest song I ever wrote. Probably explains why it's so shit.
Another one.
To impress a girl, which worked because we're married and have 2 kids. So at least something good came of this, because the song itself is
nice
no
one.
But,
yeah, I mean, we still need a better name for the 10-minute song thing. It pops up again this year as well. Anyway, if you're wondering what happened to Bazillion, one day Bazillion met a guy called Rob Hyman. And Ben, when you've got a Bazillion and a Hyman together, the only thing to do is form a band called The Hooters. And then have a C-tier classic rock hit with And We Danced, which you might remember from... I don't think that's on Coles Radio. I think that's on IGA Radio.
IGA Radio, yeah. Absolutely.
Which is whatever the guy at the IGA is playing.
Christ, that's crazy. Look...
They actually had a couple of other sort of low key hits, but none of them have actually lasted.
So the guy from the
higher
Hooters
chart positions, but then they just I looked them up and I was like, I haven't heard of these fucking songs.
So the guy from the Hooters who wrote "And We Danced" also wrote "One of Us." That's a good
weirdly enough. And I'd completely forgotten Joan Osborne. I remember this song. Everybody remembers this song, if only from fucking Dr. Evil.
Yeah, I think it's Ozzy Osbourne's daughter, isn't it? No, that's Kelly Osbourne. So
no, she was definitely a one-hit wonder as well. She just sort of vanished.
But Tom, this was the theme song to probably one of my favourite TV shows of all time, Joan of Arcadia.
Tell me the Joan of Arcadia story again. I never saw that.
Can't do anything about it.
Was it a sort of Dawson's Creek /
I think it was a Joan of Arc type thing.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
So she got burnt alive?
Well, it's a really good question.
Suffered from crippling, debilitating mental illness that they didn't understand at the time.
They didn't understand at the time, yeah. So
visual and auditory hallucination.
It wasn't on for very long, so it's actually not a Joan of Arc thing at all. I made that up. A typical family... I'm reading this on Wikipedia, Tom. A typical family is facing atypical situations, not the least of which their teenage daughter's conversations with God. A police detective dreams of providing a safe haven for the family. So there you go.
Sounds
dog shit.
Sounds whimsical.
Yeah, probably it's sort of mid-90s, so that doesn't surprise me. It's probably, I imagine it's like picket fences, but more whimsical. So I don't know. So yeah, that sucks. This was nominated for 3 Grammys.
Yep.
Lost all 3 of them to Seal, Alanis Morissette, and Hootie and the Blowfish, respectively.
Man, that is a 90s 3-hit combo. I hope it finished with a Spin Doctor's uppercut.
For sure. So that's a bit of a blow, knowing that you show up. You got 3 nominees. You think you're going to walk away with 1, and then you just like Seal. You're like, oh fuck, 2 left. Alanis. You're like, oh goodness.
I kind of like
Hootie,
this a bit. I hadn't heard it for ages. It's very simple in a sort of 90s alt rock way. Like, it really is just a basic pop song, but back then, like, it's still like louder and heavier than anything on the radio now.
For sure.
Like, there's no auto-tune in her voice. There's an actual melody. The guitars have distortion on them. There's a solo. A human being plays the drums. And Joan Osborne's haircut looks like it cost $50.
She's got a nose ring too, which is sweet.
Yep. Oh, and she's wearing clothes as well, which is an unusual development. I hadn't seen that coming. But
look, absolutely. Look, shitting on this, I probably shouldn't, because it's probably.
It's a bit better. I'm just saying it was better than I remembered it being.
Definitely, but I think I'm like you, Tom. I think whenever I think of this, I do just think of Austin Powers. So that's pretty much. Does everyone think of that?
Hard not to.
And then just him saying that he wrote the song. It is very, very good because he's travelled back in time. Good times.
The joke is that he can't remember any of the other lyrics except.
Yeah. Does this classify as a novelty song? Do you think, or not? It's not really.
It's a one-hit wonder, not a novelty song.
No. A novelty. Song, if it was. Say, sung by a cartoon cat or something like that, or Jive Bunny.
And technically, Bazillion and Hyman had anoture hit.
They did, that's true. Yeah, that's exactly right. So,
how long has it been since you heard "And We Danced"?
Oh, for a long time.
Sure.
A very long time.
Maybe it'll crop up if we time travel.
Oh, look, absolutely. Right. Coles Radio, they'll have it on there.
Speaking of things that aren't a one-hit wonder, what's up next?
Well, sorry, just real quick, 1.3 million on Spotify per month, 18 cents on the Discogs.
1.3 million? That's not terrible for a one-hit wonder.
And 18 cents, Tom, I think that Christmas is just around the corner. That would make a great... If I woke up on Christmas morning, checked it in the old stocking, and I pulled out a single... or CD single of One of Us by Joan Osborne, I would be happy with that, I think. So certainly that'll be good. So up next, you said, no more one-hit wonders. We've got OMC, How Bizarre.
How bizarre indeed.
Yep, I hope I mentioned that these... did I mention... No. In the 80s rap, or a few... I think... There was something propped up where I was forced to mention the finest New Zealand artists of all time. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You probably can't.
No, I do. I remember this coming up. I can't remember which episode it was.
No, I can't remember. But something happened, and I think I reeled off my top 5 New Zealand artists of all time. I think I forgot to put these guys in there.
Oh, well, you've done them a disservice.
I think if I could turn back time, if I could find a way, I don't know. But if I got these guys in, I'd have to cut out like 30 odd foot of grunt or something like that, Rustler Rock. So I think I wouldn't change it. So sorry OMC fans, but not in there. So OMC stands for Otara Millionaires Club. And it's after the neighbourhood in Auckland where the main dude from the band leader, grew up. And it's a bit of a funny name because the Auckland suburb of Otara is, at least at the time this song was written, like one of the poorest suburbs in Auckland.
Oh, okay.
So the whole
fairly ghetto type
Otara
thing.
Millionaires Club. It's all funny because
so
there you go. So it's funny. You see, I'm laughing. So yeah, it had pretty high crime rates, but recently, fortunately, there was some police action, and the tribesmen and killer bee gangs have been reeled in. So that's their actual name. So if you move there, Tom, I assume that, look, let's face it, Melbourne, we're probably back in lockdown next week. I got to get away. I got to get out of here. I might move to Otara. It sounds very nice. I do like Auckland. Would you join the tribesmen or the killer bees?
I definitely join the killer bees because the bees are spelled B-E-E-Z.
Yes.
And, I mean, compared to that, the tribesmen still using an S in the name.
Yeah, absolutely right.
That's not cool enough.
Well, that's sort of what jumped out as me as well. The fact that bees was spelled, B-E-E-Z. I said, that's the gang I want to be a part of. So I don't know how one joins said gang, but if I do, if there's any New Zealand listeners out there and you do know, you have some connections to the Killer Bees gang in Auckland, let us know. Just because if we do move over there, we will need sort of an in, I guess. You don't just knock on the club door and say, "Let me in." You probably need an introduction or something like that.
I'm guessing you could start by modelling your behaviour off most of the cast of Once Were Warriors.
Absolutely, I think if I did that would be okay. I assume that would be all right. So that's
not to push racial stereotypes, but we are talking about violent motorbike gangs.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's. But they're probably. OMC, fun-loving sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I say violent. Most of them probably just sold weed to each other. That seems to be. There's a lot of weed growing in New Zealand if you've never been there.
Yes,
it's a lot of green, leafy forests with no one in them.
So the lead singer of the band, Paulie Fuamana, he was a gang member in Auckland.
Oh, he was. Okay.
He was.
So
yep.
He wasn't just from there.
No, he was one of the gang members. But I wasn't able to find out whether he was a Killer Bees or a tribesman. My research, I was unable to find that out. He seemed like a bit of a Killer Bees man myself, so I'm just going to assume that he is. So he's a gang member, but then obviously just did some music, and he received his musical training in a New Zealand juvenile prison.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Went to prison, and when he was in there, he learnt the musical chops to write this. Right. Maybe if he was incarcerated for longer, he would have been able to write better songs. I don't really know, but not that this one's bad. But
I mean, it's got a sort of, there's a slight wanky, fake Americanness in it that used to irritate me a bit. That sort of, it's not hip hop, but it's kind of, there's a touch of that sort of we're from the hood vibe. But I mean, it seems like he definitely has a better claim to being from the hood than I do. Anyway,
no doubt.
Maybe I should shut up.
Absolutely, no, he definitely was. So, but look, you listen to this, and you cannot tell me that those motherfuckers in the Cat Empire didn't rip this whole thing off. They've just stolen this.
Well, I have to say, I was surprised to find that all the instrument work in the background is real and not sampled. I thought at least like the horns would be sampled and stuff. It does contain a small breakbeat from Whoomp, There It Is, halfway through.
Yeah.
But it's not the first song to do that. Maybe modern day hip hop can aspire to the heights of OMC and just stop ripping off entire songs because you can't be fucked playing studio musicians to come up with some jams, I mean, that'd be pretty good.
Look, I'm a big fan of sampling culture, Tom, but sometimes you do think, maybe just invent something new.
I'm not talking about sampling culture, I'm talking about ripping off whole songs.
The whole song.
Like, I mean, we've already had, 13 weeks of Coolio Gangsta's Paradise, which, as we said last year, it's just Pastime Paradise by Stevie Wonder, the instrumental with him rapping on the top.
Yeah, you're right. That's not sampling for me.
No, it's basically a cover version of a song.
That's not taking a couple of disparate samples and trying to weave together some new concoction. That's just ripping something off.
And if anybody knows what large volume contributed to it, apart from sounding like something that you'd find written on the side of a suitcase, going through international airport, then I don't know.
Absolutely. Look, I feel bad though. Paulie, he passed away at 40 years of age.
That sucks.
He was survived by his wife and 6 kids. So I hope that they're, living a good life off the back of the royalties from this song.
It was a good time to make money off a big hit like this, and this was number 1 in 8 countries, as you said.
Wow, that's 8. That's good.
Not just this was this was big, huge in America too.
Now,
It might be the only New Zealand song some American people know, and they probably don't know it was American. They're probably like me, and they just assumed that OMC stood for something MC, like Orville MC.
Absolutely, it's just Shaggy. Shaggy's just in there. So yeah,
it's Coolio doing a different name.
Now the song, the lyrics, Tom. You got a lyrical highlight always, but these ones sort of weave it. No, I want you to go ahead, but they weave a bit of a narrative. Is that a bit of a story? Is that correct?
They do. Yeah, it's basically. Three people are driving around New Zealand in a Chevy 69. They get pulled over by the cops who let them go because he likes their car. Then they stop for some petrol, or gas as Paulie calls it, in a pretty ridiculous attempt to sound American, seeing as the entire song is done in a very thuck New Zealand accent. But
get some geese.
While they're getting some geese, they see a poster for a circus, and then the entire circus jump out from behind a bush, tell them that the elephant has run away. And so they drove off again.
Yep.
If you're curious about what happens after that, Ben, Paulie's estate is willing to sell you the rights. How much would you pay for those rights?
Look, this is, I think, could be a major motion picture as big as, say, Curly Sue, I think, Tom. This could be as big as Curly Sue.
I've definitely seen movies with less premise.
Oh, absolutely right. Yeah, for sure. So, look, I don't know whether I want to pay money to see what happens or whether I just want to take this beginning and sort of, weave in my own sort of ending to that, I think.
It starts off with that kind of gangstery thing.
Yep.
So not gangstery, but that kind of cruisy road trip Americana thing.
Yep.
And then that circus thing pops up, and it seems so childlike and weird that I found myself thinking, is this a metaphor for something? Like, is he trying to... Does this mean something that I'm not privy to? Like, is circus a new name for drugs or something? Maybe it is. Fucking know. It could be.
Look, my film will be very literal. It'll just be some guys getting some petrol and then they just run into a circus. And then what kind of hijinks could happen? Who knows? Sounds like a whole lot of fun.
Sure.
Definitely. Anything else? You good?
I'm good with that.
You good?
Sorry. One of the chicks in the car that he mentions does vocals. She keeps talking about Cena, which is like she's seen the band.
Yep.
And another guy. So, yeah. Anyway.
1.2 million. That's pretty good on Spotify. More than I would have thought.
They had other hits in New Zealand.
Yep.
But this is the only one that went anywhere else.
2 cents, though. So that's a deal and a half. Like, double team that with that Joan Osborne CD single.
20 cents well spent.
Absolutely. All right, so that was 5 weeks there. 18th of May for 4 weeks. Our old friend George is back. George Michael. He's back again with Fast Love.
He's feeling better after his partner died 3 years ago.
Absolutely.
He's heading on to that fucking dance floor.
Now, this one's a lot fucking better than Jesus to a Child, I will tell you that. So this
I don't think it's up to his early 90s stuff, but it is definitely a bit more dancey and catchy.
For sure. Look, so this is about instant fulfillment, gratification without commitment.
Sure.
Now, look, I don't know. George... You're right, Tom. He was still, I think, hadn't come out as being openly gay yet. I think it wasn't until a year or two later where he was caught in a male in a public toilet.
Yes.
Performed. I think it was an undercover cop or something came in and sort of
who knows
something happened.
Cottaging, as they call it in the UK.
Exactly. So George was arrested for, I guess, participating in acts or trying to solicit acts that are illegal. But I think. More than that, what this says to me is that in the year 2021, I think, being gay is pretty easy, I think, compared to back in George Michael's day.
Compared to any other time.
Exactly, compared to other times. And I think, if you're sort of like, you wake up one morning and you sort of, you're unsure about your sexuality, you want to sort of explore that sort of thing, you're sort of going, I don't know any gay people, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do. You jump on the Google... You just type in gay toilet and Google Maps will show you all the gay toilets around, and you just show up to the gay toilet and then you can get into some of the action that George did. But back in George Michael's day, there was no Google, there was no internet. You just had to know where the gay toilets were. George, he would have, you got to realise this is George Michael. He's a guy that's sold hundreds of millions of albums. He's a major pop star, but in his free time, he has to go to public toilets, hang out there, see if it's a gay toilet. He doesn't know if it's a gay toilet, and then wait around, and then, then he has to go to another toilet. So he's very busy trying to find these gay toilets.
I mean, past a certain point, especially with someone like George Michael, you'd have to think the public toilet aspect of it's got to be part of the fun,
Oh,
surely.
absolutely.
Because, I'm pretty sure he could go to a gay club and pick
could.
up whoever.
He could, absolutely.
And he's like, in this video, he's a very handsome guy.
Yep.
He's still as immaculately groomed as ever. He doesn't look like he's aged since Wham, whatever fucking skin cream he's using. I wouldn't mind some of that, but yeah.
He's got slightly more ridiculous facial hair, I think, in the 90s.
He does, yes. His flavour savers seem to have multiplied all over his face, but...
yeah, absolutely. So you're absolutely right, because I think that sort of, he could have just gone to a club, or I'm sure in Hollywood, well, not that, but, he would know people, in the music industry, in Hollywood, various, I'm sure he could find some people to spend some time with that were in his similar... He didn't have to go to the gay toilets.
Ben, maybe we're looking at this from the wrong angle, perhaps, because neither of us have ever been particularly attractive during our entire lives. Maybe if you're very good looking and have shitloads of money and are quite famous, that... getting laid becomes so easy that sometimes, it's 2 p.m., it's 2 a.m., you've just finished a movie, and whereas I would just think, should I go downstairs and get a kebab?
Yep.
George Michael just starts thinking, geez, I wouldn't mind a root before I went to bed.
Yeah.
Well, there's that public toilet across the street. Just walk outside and go to the public toilet. Then I can get laid, go back to bed, and fall asleep in half an hour.
Yep.
Whereas I would just be, at that point, scrunching up half a kebab and throwing it in the bin.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And sort of what else I find interesting is that obviously he was, ultimately arrested for that sort of thing, but I don't see what the big fuss is about.
I don't think it's not homosexuality at that point. It's just getting the dick out in the public.
Yeah, but I think the point I'm trying to make is, Tom, that I think if it's 2 a.m. and I went into a public toilet to take a piss and there's no one in there, central London, I'm sort of like, is someone going to stab me? Am I going to get arrested? If I walk into a public toilet and I see George Michael, giving someone a hand job, it's a relief. That's
one of the better things.
I'm relaxed. I walk in there and go, there's other people in there. That's okay.
Oh yeah.
So if someone comes in with a knife or tries to, there's a whole group of people in here to apprehend that thing.
I fully expect to get disemboweled by the Candyman every time I go.
Absolutely. So I think when I walk into a public toilet, I want to see that. I want to see 2 dudes going at it in the corner, because it just makes me feel safer in an environment knowing that there are crazy people out there with knives, etc. So look, it's all good, George. Look, this one is the best song of his this year that has made it to number 1, without a shadow of a doubt. The music video, it's a bit cyber as well. They've gone a little bit, haven't quite gone full Lawnmower Man, but they've certainly, it looks like George Michael's streaming a video on a fax machine at the start. Now, was that his bold vision of the future? When they're making the video, he says to the director, I reckon in the future, fax machines, people are going to be watching music videos on fax machines. Put that in, and they went, let's do it. That is genius. That's going to happen. He was spot on, because that's how we do it in 2021.
Well, 3 years later, people were boldly predicting that everyone would want to use the internet on their refrigerator. So, I've seen worse things. 3 years before this, whoever directed the Bobby Brown video thought you were going to be able to hack into landline telephones for the little answering machine digital display. So
absolutely. Look, I might watch June tomorrow night just on my fax machine, Tom, if you want to come over. So he's sitting in a chair that's made entirely out of speakers, which is cool. It's an armchair all of speakers.
Yeah, and a wall of televisions. Half the videos on this fucking list feature a wall of speakers or wall of televisions. It's just...
And for no apparent reason, in the last third of the video, he's dancing in the middle of a room in a shower that looks like it's pumping out about 10,000 litres of water a second. Like it's coming down at some speed, I will say that. So
not to be stereotypical, but gay dudes do seem to like giant showers. I don't blame them.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's big enough to hold the start of the opening scene to Blade in that fucking shower.
It's crazy.
The whole thing, you're right, it's extremely mid-90s, isn't it? Everything has that blue tinge over it, like you're watching Lawnmower Man 2, like you said. There's leopard print, a fuck ton of shiny pleather, everyone has frosted tips. Guy looks like Rob Flynn from the Machine, the Burning Red era. Interestingly, he started showing hot guys with bondage gear in his videos, as well as the half-naked supermodels he's had since 1990. And there's some implied lesbianism, there's implied three-ways in the video, but still no dudes macking on other dudes.
No.
But that's still a step too far for 96, but yeah.
Absolutely, but yeah, look, I enjoy the video for this one because it is completely bizarre. There is a lot of sort of, he's watching people dance. Are they really there? Is it sort of like a hologram? Is it ABBA? Is it the ABBA hologram from before? So, look, and George obviously takes the piss out of himself with a song, I think, a year or two later, Outside, which is about him basically banging. And the music video features a dude getting arrested for boning in a public toilet. So he sort of takes the piss out of himself. So much respect to George. I hope we get to talk about George again. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, certainly. Yeah. I mean, Adele sang this at his funeral in 2016.
Fast Love.
Yes.
Wow,
now,
nice.
not to accuse Adele of pissing on anyone's coffin, but is Fast Love really the song you would want played at your funeral, Ben? Even if you wrote it?
Yeah, look, I would, but I'm not everyone, so yeah.
For instance, imagine the scene. Everyone's solemnly in the church and Adele is singing, "In the absence of security, I made my way into the night. Stupid Cupid keeps on calling me, but I see nothing in his eyes. So why don't we make a little room in my BMW? Searching for some peace of mind. Hey, I'll help you find it. I do believe that we're practicing the same religion." Which is handy because we're in a church at my fucking funeral, you goose. Why are you singing a song called Fast Love about getting it on in public toilets?
Look,
anyway,
that seems like
maybe she was. Sometimes you're at the end of the list to confirm, whether you're going to do something or not, and then when you do confirm, you find out that there was a list of options, and now there's one thing left, like a wedding registry, and now you have to buy a silver chandelier or some shit, like, because everybody else took all the toasters and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You think Boyz II Men said, well, we're going to do Last Christmas, and then sort of,
maybe
Elton John said, oh, look, well, I'll do, Careless Whisper, and then they're all so it's just Adele being like,
she said, look, it's this or Outside.
Or Jesus to a Child. She's like, look, I'll take Fast.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I'd take this over Jesus to. I thought of that, and then I assumed that Jesus to a Child was one of the ones that was already taken because. Yeah.
I just think that was probably cut from the funeral list.
This is way more fun, but Jesus to a Child sounds more like something you'd play at a funeral.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, good on Adele for giving it a go. Can't say it's the best funeral song, as you said, Tom, but look, it's George's funeral. I'm sure he would have liked it a bit sort of memorable. And this would be memorable. We already mentioned previously 14 mil on the Spotify, 72 cents for this. So that's getting up there. That's approaching $1.
Than I would have thought.
Absolutely.
I think this was getting. He's still doing number ones, but as we got towards the end of the 90s, I think he started to fade out of the mainstream charts. But I'm sure he was still getting still selling albums,
still pumping out a heap of hits. But yeah, may not be any more number ones.
I'm surprised that they were still in. I don't even remember these songs in all honesty, but yeah.
Oh, there you go. Look, they're all classics, Tom. Every single one of them. Cool. So up next, Tom, for just one solitary week, but wow, what a week. Metallica, Until It Sleeps. Wow. Now, this is off Load. Is that the best Metallica album, Tom?
I think their hardcore fans think it is, sure.
Load or Reload.
Was this the first single off Load?
It was, Tom.
It was, yeah. It's easy to forget now, but they were so huge among a certain fraternity of music fans until, like, the Black Album, and then they just didn't do anything for nearly 10 years?
Well, I think the Black Album was like 1991 and this is 1996, so only 5 years.
I was younger then. It seemed like a longer time. But there was a very long time between albums for that era. And
certainly. Well, because I think the Black Album has sold like 20 million or more, like a lot of probably like 30 million. I don't know, like a lot of copies. It was the biggest like metal or metal adjacent type release ever.
They legitimately kind of cracked the mainstream with that. Like, absolutely, they were getting like MTV mainstream play and stuff, and it wasn't glam metal. This is in the sort of post glam metal era. Or the end of glam metal. They never went glam.
They never went glam. They didn't, like, they changed their style in the sense that the albums prior to this were, like, thrashy and fast, and this was a lot more mid-tempo, slower,
it's more hard rock than
hard
metal,
rock, exactly. Yeah. So that was, by that time.
The people who thought that Black was selling out because they hired a good producer to produce it and then they got on the radio occasionally were not super overjoyed when Load came out.
No, look, Tom, I'm saying this is clearly Metallica's post-grunge phase. So
it's a tad country as well, unfortunately.
Well, this song, I think particularly sounds like a real off-brand Alice in Chains, like sort of
looking back at it now, it does. It's not really grunge, but it's not metal really either.
No, it's just sort of hard rock, and you know, it's sort of like Alice in Chains sort of had some heavier sounding songs. This sort of, to me, just sounds like a poor version of that. The follow-up single, Hero of the Day, could be a Creed B-side. I sort of got that vibe off it. I was like, that's pretty shit. And then the next single, Mama Said, I can only assume was written for inclusion on the soundtrack of the yet unannounced Young Guns 3. Sounds like they wrote it particularly for that, and then someone said, oh, we're not going to make Young Guns 3, and they went, oh, well, fuck, we'll just put it on load.
Don't threaten me with a good
time. So, look, it's purportedly the better of the albums from the Load-Reload duo.
Reload was even worse than this. Like, the people who were disgusted with this were not their disgust was not ameliorated by Reload or by the S&M or all the other shit that they did in the late 90s.
That was
oh my God.
But
that's right, I forgot about Lulu, Jesus.
But look, anyway, the point is, I think, that even though the music's changed, they're still the same dudes that they always were, except in the King of Nothing video, James Hetfield appears to be wearing a fur coat. So maybe they have changed just a little bit. So is this one of them? Is probably, I don't know whether it is, but for me, this is probably one of the most fucking stupid music videos I've ever seen.
It's not great, is it? I think it's meant to be Hieronymus Bosch influenced, although fuck knows why that means Lars Ulrich needs to be wearing eyeliner. I don't know what that's about.
Everyone looks so pained in this, like they go, the band members look like they're in agony, and we're so...
they look pained in their old videos, but everything's so dark, and they've all got, chest length long hair, so you can't see their faces and stuff anyway, really.
I think in that one music video, when it's sort of got that the footage from like the war stuff blended in, and they're still playing sort of thrash metal, and that's sort of like quite an aggressive song. I'm fine with that, but this is just sort of like, you're right, Lars has got eyeliner, and nipple rings as well.
Kirk's wearing a fur coat.
They're punching the ground, they're throwing dirt. I think the bass player smears shit on himself for a while.
People in tights dancing around and stuff.
As I mentioned, Lars's nipple rings, and he also has a purple feather boa. Jesus pops up in this for a bit, so
he sure does.
Just everything about it's fucking stupid. So I don't know.
I don't hate a couple of songs on this album. I have to admit, this one isn't my favourite, but I had this on cassette in Lagana back in the day. I think the trick with this album is that if you aren't as invested in early Metallica as some of my friends were, because I wasn't that invested in it. If you forget about thrash metal and just take this as sort of like high volume bogan stoner road trip music, it's got a few fun songs on it. There's 2x4 and Ain't My Bitch, I reckon, are quite fun. Then again, they're not metal. They're sort of, but you can see the kind of skeleton of their older song structures underneath it, and you can sort of see how, if you rocked it up way more, like made it a lot heavier, or if you just get drunk and turn it up very loud, then it does suddenly seem to turn into metal. But it's definitely not their best.
Yeah, look, James Hetfield's gone on to write a book about restoring classic cars. Is it time that he just gave the music away and focused on that? Would that be sort of a wise move? I don't know. It's okay, but look, this song apparently, Until It Sleeps, is about, I think, his mother passed away from cancer, I think.
Yes.
So I believe that that's sort of the subject matter about this. But his parents are also Christian scientists, Tom. What is a Christian scientist? Can you tell me? Because I don't know. Because apparently they refused all medicines.
They're one of those weird ones, like some parts of is it the Seventh-day Adventists? The ones that don't believe in,
modern science, or...
Yeah, they're not Mormons, but I don't know. I'm sorry.
So I'm not sure whether the song is about his anger at cancer, or his anger about his mum just being like, I'm going to refuse treatment for this or something like that. So I don't really know.
I should have dug deeper into that. He definitely, he does sound unapologetically angry in this song. And I mean, like the lyrics, I mean, as you said, they're about his mum dying of cancer, so I won't take the piss too hard.
No,
but they make a fair bit of sense by the standards of his lyrics. Like, they don't involve any imaginary people getting their legs blown off or anything. But he does sound like he's really angry. I hope that's either his normal singing style, or he's angry at cancer for killing his mum, and this is not about how angry he is at his mum for some reason, or they might need to get in touch with that psychiatrist from some kind of monster again.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because he sounds pissed off. Like he's not. It's not a soulful ballad about your dead mum. It still sounds angry as shit.
No, look, I think you're right. These lyrics are probably a bit different from some of the other ones. Probably a bit better. Is my lifestyle determines my death style one of the bottom 5 lyrics of all time?
Well, that's not in this song.
No, it's not.
Yes,
but that's in another song. That's off a
shit.
Senanga song. I can't think of any worse lyrics than my lifestyle determines my
one
death
of the
style.
other problems with Load, besides the musical style itself, is that I'm not sure if the decision to move into an area which makes the lyrics a lot more legible was perhaps the best decision for Metallica, because I think the fact that a lot of it was covered up by growling meant
it's better when the music did the talking and he was just sort of going,
and you couldn't really hear grammatical like mistakes that might hint at the fact that, for instance, all of them dropped out of high school when they were like 16 to start this band and have literally never done anything else in their entire life than play metal.
I think a gravelly voice sort of hides the sort of and
someone doing a massive solo behind you.
Absolutely. Look, what do you think has Lars? I think has alienated some fans over the years, I think, just because of some of the things that he's said, some of the things that he's done. What do you think has alienated the fans more? Is it the Napster thing, where he sued the fans, or they sued the fans?
Early
do you think it was
music sharing?
Was it him, auctioning off his multi-million-dollar art collection in some kind of monster, where people sort of went, oh, he's not like us, he's selling millions and millions of dollars of art that he's collected over the years. Is it his nipple rings in this music video, or his white leather jacket that he wore there for some time? Which one of those is more offensive?
I reckon it's the nipple rings, I think. Because there's 2 of them.
I was off put. Yeah, you're absolutely. There are 2 of them. That is correct. Yeah, definitely.
The Napster thing I can kind of forgive because nobody knew what music sharing was back then.
Yeah, that's true.
And like a lot of people thought it might be the end of music, for years even they did. So, although that did make them the subject of a lot of very harsh early flash animation satirical YouTube, not pre-YouTube videos online, if I seem to recall correctly.
But I think, I don't know whether it was this song, but it was certainly, I think, a song off Load or Reload that was one of the first songs ever shared on a file sharing site, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Apparently it was a Metallica song. The guy that invented the MP3... what's the word I'm looking for? Like rip it off a CD, the decoding software or whatever. Apparently the guy that invented that, or something, one of the first songs that was ever uploaded and subsequently downloaded was a Metallica song from sort of this era of Metallica. So so look, people talk a lot about the big 4 in thrash metal. Obviously Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, they're the big 4. But has anyone...
Anthrax are up the back.
There's a fair bit
of I'm not that I don't mind them, it's just that they don't really get spoken of in quite the same terms.
It's correct. It's sort of... It is, you're right, it's sort of like someone's come up with this thing called the big 4 and then they realise it's probably only a big 3 and then they've had to sort of, wedge your 4th band.
I would have thought, I know they came along a bit later, but I would have thought Sepultura deserved to be in the big 4 more than maybe Anthrax.
So. Look, I think that shows the racism of the people that came up with the term big 4, because they wanted the big 4 American bands. Sepultura, being Brazilian, maybe they didn't make the cut for that reason. But yeah, you're right. Anthrax are very far back, I think, as far as I'm concerned. But has anyone ever compiled the big 4 of 90s Eurodance? Has anyone ever sort of
I'm
raised
guessing
that?
that you have. So what would you say that they were?
Well, Tom, I'm saying it's 2 Unlimited, La Bouche, Culture Beat, and The Real McCoy, with maybe maybe Technotronics there as a fifth if someone, has an issue with one of the other ones.
Yeah, they're on the edge, aren't they?
Yep, all Euro beats. Obviously if I was able to incorporate, people from America, there'd be a bit of a difference.
Oh, look, I think that's a great selection.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, Too Unlimited, I would say they're leading the pack, but that's just me personally.
Oh, no doubt. Look, maybe when it gets to the 90s rap, I will have a look at the monthly Spotify listens for these Eurobeat bands, so I can I won't choose the big four of Eurobeats. I will let the general public choose that.
I would definitely say that Some Kind of Monster is in the big four of rockumentaries. If I had to pick one, I absolutely love Some Kind of Monster. I've watched it about 4 times.
Yep.
Along with This Is Spinal Tap, Anvil, and the last Freddie Mercury movie, which I'm assuming was meant to be a joke. I hope it was.
The Queen movie.
Yes. That was a mockumentary, right? That wasn't. You weren't meant to take that seriously. I mean, Mike Myers was in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen Dig, Tom?
Dig? No, I haven't seen Dig.
It's another good one in the rock and roll documentary.
Who does it focus on?
So who it focuses on is
it's not
the Danny Warhols.
Yep. No. But I thought they were taking it fairly seriously.
Well, that's the brilliance of the whole thing. Okay. So there's sort of it's them and another band who are sort of their friends.
Cool. Yep.
And they're both pretty low level, sort of just starting out, sort of whatever. And then I think it's Brian Jonestown Massacre.
That was
the other
it.
band.
Yep.
The Brian Jonestown so they're probably the slightly bigger band, Brian Jonestown Massacre, and the Danny Warhols are their friends, are up and coming. And then as the documentary gets made, the Danny Warhols release a couple of singles that go crazy, and all of a sudden they're massive. Yeah. So they're huge, and then the other band that was the bigger band in the sort of friendship are still, selling not many records. They've got an extraordinarily volatile frontman, and it just goes from there. And it's quite amusing just to sort of watch the dynamics of sort of how that all plays out.
Sure.
So recommend that one as well on the list. But absolutely. So 18 million people are listening to Metallica
actually
every month.
Less than I would have thought.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
right.
still putting out stuff, and
absolutely.
They can still headline, festivals and stuff.
Sure.
They're still massive.
They're still the biggest metal/hard rock band in the world, you'd have to say.
Yeah.
Right now. So, which just goes to show that once you sort of, if you get to the peak, it doesn't matter. Like they reached their peak in in terms of record sales, 1991 with the Black Album. So they've been pumping out shit for 30 years, but they're still top of the tier in terms of music.
They've sort of managed to. I think possibly it's their name that has more to do with it than people might be willing to admit. But I think they've almost managed to get to that point where I know there's a word for this, but I can't remember what it is. Where your name becomes like a synecdoche, where your name becomes like when people say Nintendo instead of video games because it's your grandma and that's the only. She just thinks Nintendo and video games are the same thing.
Yeah.
When people say Metallica to mean heavy metal, almost and when you get to that point, it basically doesn't matter what your new stuff is or your old stuff is.
Oh, for sure.
If you're the first thing people think of when they're trying to think of a musical genre, who do you think you are, Elvis or something like that? If somebody's doing hip swivels, because that's the first thing that pops in your head. Sure. It doesn't really matter if your last 10 albums were complete bullshit.
Well, yeah, I mean they released Lulu, that obviously that Amber, which was fucking
it was
with Lou Reed.
Lou Reed.
It was fucking hot garbage, and I know that Lars said something completely obnoxious like, people just don't understand. In 2030 or 2040, people will finally understand the genius of this album, of how great it is. It's just so far ahead of its time.
We've only got 8 years. I better buy a few backup copies.
Exactly. So, but look, just in preparation for this podcast, I listened to a bit of it last night, and fucking hell, I found it a struggle to get through, more than about 2 songs. Really, really bad. And even they've tried to go back to their sort of roots a bit more, I guess, with their more recent albums. And even then, they're not great. But yeah, I think you're right. They release new albums. They're not very good. people still go to watch them live because it's like they'll still play Master of Puppets, they'll still play Enter Sandman, they'll still play The Unforgiven 1, The Unforgiven 2, The Unforgiven 3.
I don't feel like they're getting a whole new bunch of younger fans the way some artists are lucky enough to do, but there's enough old cunts who still like them.
Yeah, exactly.
That they can, like you say, keep touring off their big hits and stuff like that.
But look, this song sucks, but it's not the worst of this era. And as you said, there's a couple of songs in there that sort of and look, I think look, the Black Album's not an album that I ever listen to just because I've heard all of those songs a million times over the years from just various things, but there's some good songs on there, I think.
I do like the Black Album. Yeah, I like them all.
Oh yeah, it's not. Production. Yeah, absolutely. I think it is good. It's just not something. Yeah, as I said, because you hear them a lot. But they also defined that era because a lot of bands after that started playing. Pantera, for example, they had a few number one albums, metal albums, and they certainly slowed it down a bit and played a bit more mid-tempo and a bit more simpler song structures. And I think that's just what people wanted. They didn't want things that are too crazy and too complicated and too long.
And I mean, say what you like about Metallica, but they have sort of culturally outlasted all of these bands. Like, I mean, it didn't help that Pantera's bassist, the drummer OD'd and the best guitarist maybe in metal got shot on stage. But I'd be surprised if they were still in the cultural eye the way Metallica are now. I don't know how they managed to do that. I don't know
exactly, how they did. Yeah, look, you credit where credit's due, and they've been a band for 40 years, and for 30 of those years they've been the biggest band in their genre.
And they're all still alive.
They are, absolutely.
Like, they managed to not OD or...
Well, Tom, their lifestyle determines their death style, so... we'll find out what that death style is, I guess.
It didn't. Anyway.
Absolutely. So, 18 million, 66 cents for this. There you go. Up after this, 2 more weeks of Fast Love. People just went, need more Fast Love. Who can blame them? They probably saw that nipple ring and just went, fuck that off. We need more Fast Love. We need more streaming video on a fax machine. Let's do that. So then up next, for 7 weeks, this one's quite lengthy, 22nd of June, the Fugees, Killing Me Softly.
Christ almighty.
Now, this one is bullshit because it is just another old song.
Yes, it's a cover, although at least it's not pretending not to be. It's called Killing Me Softly, which is the name of the original.
Yep, exactly. So the songwriting team for this song, Charles Fox and Norman Gimbel, wrote this. It was recorded in 1972, and those guys also wrote the song the Happy Days theme.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So, and Laverne and Shirley. So, some big guns.
This has been covered by a shitload of people as well. Like the 73 was covered by Roberta Flack and Perry Como and so forth. And since then, I mean, it's, who knows how many people have been covered by it. It features at the end of the film about a boy, like fucking Hugh Grant singing it on stage, blah, blah.
Absolutely. They won a Grammy for this for Best R&B Performance. And the video won Best R&B Video at the MTV Music Awards. So in the UK, it was the best-selling single of the year. But in the US, it wasn't released as a single to do that bullshit where they try and get people to buy the album. So it wasn't a hit in the US.
That was a trick that worked for a very short period of time.
For a brief period of time, they went, let's not release it as a single. Sold...
Internet.
Sold a fuckload in Australia, heaps in the UK, none in America. But then, the score of the album that this came from sold 6 million copies in the US. So maybe it worked, So, look, technically, I guess... these guys are a one-hit wonder with a cover, technically, or not really?
Well,
do they have more hits?
I don't know if they had hits as big as this, but they definitely had other
some low-key top 10 sort of hits. Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, everyone knows the Fugees and Lauryn Hill as well, of course.
Lauryn Hill, obviously, for sure. This was everywhere at the time. I was going to call them the precursor to Alien Ant Farm, Tom, the one-hit wonder with a cover, but I was wrong. I will say this, though, look, and if you're listening to this and saying, look, Ben, you haven't convinced me that the Fugees are revolutionary. You haven't convinced me that these guys, back in '96 were at the top of their game. They were some of the best around doing this sort of thing. Bono from U2 called them the Beatles of hip hop, and Bono looks like a man who knows hip hop. Yeah,
he sure
I only
does.
take hip hop advice from Bono. I don't care what anyone says. I don't read the Pitchfork. I don't read its Stereogum. I don't look at any of the internet sites. I'm like, Bono, what rap are you listening to now? And he says, the Fugees. I say, I will get onto that, so thank you very much. But the Beatles of hip-hop, I don't really know whether that... is there a Beatles of hip-hop? I once heard Donald Glover claim that Migos are the Beatles of hip-hop.
Yes, I'm sure in 40 years people will be listening to the top 50 hits of Migos.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, but it got me thinking, though. It really got me thinking that if the Fugees could be the Beatles of hip-hop, Migos might be the Beatles of hip-hop, I'm not quite sure. But who would be the members of the Beatles of hip-hop? I'm sort of thinking Snow, Paul McCartney.
They're both very white.
Vanilla Ice is Ringo.
Again, sure.
Kid Rock is John Lennon. And I'm thinking Macklemore for George Harrison.
Wow, what a team up.
Absolutely.
All those people are still alive.
They are, no, exactly. That's what I'm hoping.
Tell me you wouldn't go to that concert.
I would. If I got to see those four together doing Beatles covers as well. I would love to see, just Vanilla Ice, Kid Rock, Macklemore.
I would actually
Snow.
watch a sitcom that was about starring all four of them, who I think we could all probably afford at this point for
Absolutely.
a low-budget Australian sitcom, about four ex-rappers trying to reclaim their title as the Beatles of hip-hop were forced to share a house because none of them have any money anymore.
They have to share a house, and they're preparing for a stadium tour where, but then it gets downgraded to like sort of, an RSL club or something like
Vanilla
that.
Ice is trying to renovate. Macklemore's working down the thrift shop down the street.
Absolutely.
Kid Rock's just constantly drunk and yelling out the N-word. It's all go.
I would watch that show. It sounds very, very good, I think. So, and as we learnt last week, was it Jan Arden has her own comedy show in Canada? So
yes.
there is definitely space
Not
for
just a comedy show, the biggest comedy show in Canadian history of all time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think this sounds like it could potentially be the biggest show of all time for white rappers doing a Beatles cover band in a house together. So, yeah. Apparently, the Fugees version I read online is a popular karaoke choice.
Oh, yeah.
For some time, apparently. Back in the day, through to now, it's still very, very popular. I read somewhere, I haven't actually checked this out, but they sort of... I don't know whether it was in the US or Japan or internationally, but they'd get the sort of data from the karaoke places and do like most requested songs or most played or whatever. And yeah, certainly this song showed up a lot. But apparently it's not a very good choice because there's a website called the Karaoke Informer that writes a lot about it, which seems bizarre, but I checked it out and she said that because there's a minimal background track, the music's quite subtle in this.
Yeah.
And everyone loses the melody. They all think they sound great, but then no one's quite Lauryn Hill.
All the melodies in the lyrics, really. Like, it's the voice that,
Yeah, absolutely. But interestingly, I read about that, and then interestingly, about 20 years ago, I was at a karaoke bar in Hobart in Australia, Tasmania, and... two dudes got up on stage to sing this song.
Sure.
And
it's like a natural fit.
Which is completely... It was one of those karaoke bars where it's like a pub and everyone sits around and they put the songs on. And literally, this dude just got up and he was just going, I'm flicking a clit with my finger, slapping her ass with my balls. And then it just goes, fucking her softly with his cock, fucking her softly with his... And it was so fucking bad. It was like those probably weren't the exact lyrics, but he definitely. I may have made the bits up that I couldn't remember, but he definitely said "fucking her softly with his cock," which was bang on. And then later on, the same dudes got up and did
Was it Rodney Roode?
No. What did they do? And then I saw her face, and she's a believer. You know, something. They got up and said, and then I sat on her face, and she was a bleeder. It was fucked. So
they were trying to start off some sort of Rodney Roode style career.
They did, yeah. They got up and did like two karaoke songs, this song and that other song, just
God,
basically
I can't believe I laughed at that. I'm so mature.
It was ridiculous.
Well, how did it go down in the pub? Were people
Not
on
well,
board?
no. Neither. This particularly, the Fugees one, I think went down worse than the other one.
I mean, I've been to some karaoke nights at, say, the Brisbane in Hobart, where that probably would have been fine.
Yeah,
or at least people would have kept playing pinball and smoking cigarettes.
Just imagine two 45-year-old dudes just going fucking us off.
I can
with
imagine
his
it
cock. Yep,
so easily.
Yeah, definitely. So anyway, moving on. The Fugees consisted obviously of Lauryn Hill, and she appeared in the 1993 film Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit. So should she have just stuck with acting, do you think? Was that...
Well, maybe. Because obviously she wasn't much of a singer, but,
Yeah, for sure. Look...
acting, I'm sure, was her real skill.
Yeah. The father of Lauryn Hill's kid is Bob Marley's son.
Oh, Ziggy Marley.
Yep. So there's a bit of relations there.
I remember she famously did a disappearing act.
Yes.
And then wasn't around. I think she the first time she'd reappeared and sung in public for a long time was on that Dave Chappelle's Block Party.
Yep.
I think that was this big coup at the time that he'd managed to get her to perform on stage because she hadn't. So I don't know whether she had some sort of limelight style thing or whether she just...
Well, Tom, she did an MTV Unplugged album, which has been described as, quote, unhinged. So I think she went off the rails a bit. When she performed in the Vatican, she hit out at Catholic Church child sex abuse. So, power to that. I mean, but is it the right place and the right time? If the Pope says, come in and do your killing me softly thing, and then you hit out.
It's a bit different to ripping up the Pope's picture on a TV interview, isn't it? It's going to the Vatican.
Yeah. And then she also went to prison for tax evasion. So maybe she was out of the limelight.
Why do I have to pay taxes?
For a little bit for that. So I'm not quite sure. But yeah. Any lyrical highlights for this? Must be heaps.
Well... So, as mentioned, this fails to pass the OMC How Bizarre test. The Fugees' contribution to the cover consists of Lauryn Hill's admittedly rad voice doing a pretty much dead straight version of the song, which, if you unlikely that you haven't heard, is a very simple maudlin 70s thing about going to see a singer-songwriter who plays really sad stuff and makes you feel like he's talking about you.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the Fugees realised that what it needed was some twat called El Boogie to say one time occasionally and throw in a bit at the end where he name-checks every cunt he's ever met and then says, everybody's got a breaking point, kid, and they'll rat on you. The family N-words will rat on you. That's why we got to be prepared to take out whoever out we need to. And I bet Roberta Flack was at home listening to that thinking, fuck, I totally forgot to mention Droopy Dick and the refugee camp 6 times, chuck in some prison rules, drop the N-word and threaten to murder anyone who crossed me. That was what the song was missing ultimately.
It was, absolutely. Roberta, when will you learn? That's all you needed for it to be a hit in the first place. But yeah, absolutely. No, completely, yeah. Those lyrics... I
don't even... They're so nonsensical and pointless that I don't even know who El Boogie is. I don't know if that's the fucking stage name for Prass or some other twat, or it's just some guy was walking past the studio and thought a few murder threats was what that song needed.
Oh, it certainly added to it, I think. So I enjoy it a lot more. So okay, so it's about sort of someone singing to you, and you're sort of
that's all it is. It's very simple. It's just saying I was feeling sad. I went to see a singer-songwriter, and it felt like he was manipulating my emotions with his music.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because it's weird. I mean, I think just from the name, a lot of people, like the karaoke people, assume it must be talking about a guy who's done you over or something like that. But no, it's just some musician who just plays stuff that...
Yeah, I thought it was a song about a guy that was fucking you softly with his cock, but apparently not. That's just that's the karaoke version.
Maybe that's what El Boogie thought it was.
I think so, absolutely. So, yeah. 5.8 mil listeners the Fugees have. No, El Boogie, not sure, I haven't checked it out, but I'll have a look to see how many listeners he has. Listeners next week, tune
5.
back in, I'll let you know.
He's got
5, yeah. 18 cents on Spotify for that. Yeah, that's probably about right. So up next, 10th of August for 3 weeks, Celine Dion, Because You Love Me, Tom. Now, this is the theme for the 1996 film Up Close and Personal, starring Robert Redford and Michelle Pfeiffer.
I'm pretty sure about as many people remember this song as remember the 1996 film Up Close and Personal, starring Robert Redford.
I have almost nothing to say about this.
I'm with you too. I know because these are number ones in Australia, and I was alive during this period. Most of them, even if I've forgotten them, from the top of my brain. Once I hear them, they come back to me. But usually once a year, there's one song where I'm like, I legitimately don't remember this at all. And this was one of them. Like like you remember I said that George Michael, the early one, Jesus to a Child. 20 seconds after you've listened to it, you've forgotten it. You start forgetting these 20 seconds into the song. Yep. It's like it's erasing tape as it goes along in your brain.
Look, I did listen to this obviously for research for this podcast, Tom, and I was like, I don't know if I've ever heard this before in my life. Like, was that unmemorable?
Legitimately, I can't remember whether I heard this
and
before.
Just like, and I think at this stage, look, Selena's sold 200 million albums worldwide, which is insane.
Dark.
Which is completely insane.
And she will go on to sell plenty more.
So I have a feeling that she is in the zone at this stage where after, sort of, I think she had a song last year, did she, that we talked about? I can't remember. But I feel
or the year before, yes.
But it just seemed like every song that she released was some sort of ballady film thing, and people just must have went out and bought it and just went love it.
I mean,
old people.
Sure, like this song was nominated for, I think it was a Grammy for, they have a category for songs specifically written for a movie or TV show, which is, so this is deliberately written for the film, and she didn't write it either. This was written by Diane Warren, who's still
she's
kicking
a hit
on.
factory.
Yeah, we mentioned her before. She's written for Joe Cocker, Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Starship, Bon Jovi, Michael Bolton, Mariah, Whitney, Boyz II Men, Ace of Base, Snoop Dogg. She wrote Blame It on the Rain for Milli Vanilli and several songs for Cher, notably If I Could Turn Back Time, which we covered when it was an Aussie #1 in '89. She is a total hit factory or a total shit factory, depending on your taste. Oh, and Ben, you might or might not recognise her work in a little song called Rhythm of the Night by DeBarge, which I think they're pretty close to the Eurodance. The top, that'd be in the Big Ten, if not the Big Four.
DeBarge, they're pretty close, aren't they? Rhythm of the Night, everyone loves that. Absolutely.
Is that Eurodance? It's got to be Eurodance.
Sounds like it to me. So yeah. This is the rhythm. That's a different song, though. That's a different Rhythm of the Night.
Oh, is it? So,
yeah.
Oh, wow, shit.
This is the rhythm of the night.
So what's Rhythm of the Night by DeBarge then?
It's a different song. I'll have to play it for you later.
Who's that one then? Who's that by?
The Rhythm of the Night is Corona. Who doesn't get to play anymore these days. Okay. She doesn't get a gig. So because people,
that's Eurodance.
That is Eurodance. Yeah, this isn't Eurodance, but it's still it's Eurodance adjacent though.
My opinion for her has dropped in. Surely though, if you start scrolling through the number of through the songs she's written, it goes for pages and pages and pages. Yeah. In fact, I think I may have even talked about her before on this fucking thing. But yeah. Anyway,
well, we learnt.
So this is another one of hers. But yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, pretty good. Between 2000 and 2009, Celine Dion grossed $500 million.
Fucking hell.
In ticket sales.
Off ticket sales, wow.
So that's pretty crazy.
And I mean albums, 200 million albums. Like even passing through the 90s music publishing industry, that would have still generated fuck ton.
Absolutely, yeah. So she's made a fuck ton of money. Her cover of AC/DC's You Shook Me All Night Long with Anastasia has been voted the worst cover of all time.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not having that.
You don't think so? I think Anastasia and Celine
the two guys
AC/DC.
in the pub doing
I think that
killing me softly.
I think that's the worst cover of all time. Absolutely, yeah. But you're right, worst cover. I mean, there's a lot of bad covers.
Yeah, I'd need to get on the internet, but yeah.
And
although admittedly, I have not heard that, and I hate Anastasia, so I guess it could be. Maybe I spoke too soon. But
yeah, I don't know. Look, lyrics. What do you got for me?
She can definitely sing. I think what you learn from this, what you learn from the ones that we've done so far, is that she was obviously a person who needed a good songwriter. She needed good, someone to, because otherwise you get this pablum. Like this is well sung. It's just boring as fuck. That's all.
Oh, absolutely. I hate a good voice as well. I don't like a good voice. I prefer someone that's a little bit, sort of, a bit raspy.
Sure.
Like a sort of Taylor Dane or something.
Tell it to me. Yeah, no, me too. Me too. Okay, lyrically, like most of Diane's songs, the lyrics are so mundane that they're difficult even to take the piss out of. So instead, let's do an end-line rundown of the lyrics so you can have a look at the quality of Diane's rhyming craftsmanship.
Yep.
So we've got me, see, life, right, true, you, baby, up, fall, all. Weak, speak, see, me, reach, believe, am, me, dark life, inspiration, truth, you. Now, you might be thinking, Tom, those are all one-syllable words except for inspiration, and yet half of them still don't rhyme. And did that bitch rhyme me with me 3 times in a row? To which I could only reply, which one of you has so many Grammys that they stopped handing them over and just built you a golden house in the shape of a Grammy to live in? And the answer is not me. So, true, I guess Diane Warren wins on the what do people actually want to listen to.
Oh, she knows what people want. She knows what women want, as does Mel Gibson in the film of the same name. But I think that
maybe she was just phoning it in with this one. Like, even by she did do if I could. She wrote If I Could Turn Back Time. Like, that's better than this. Even lyrically, it's better than this.
It involves time travel. It's a science fiction song, so it's great. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This one's boring. Sounds like she was dialing it in, but. Look, it's still a number one. I'm sure she's still got a lot of cash off it. So
I don't know what it did in America, but there's 3 weeks in Australia, she can put that on her pile of money.
Look, I don't know exactly who the top 10, in terms of people that have written the most number ones for the charts in the US, but she'd have to be in the top 10.
Oh, she'd have to be up there. Yeah, along with her, she should get married to, who was the guy, the boy band dude, who did all of, New Kids on the Block.
Guy?
No, the guy who actually did, and he did he wrote the music and choreographed.
He's probably got a heap of number ones as well.
I hope they go on golden blimp holidays with each other, where they
absolutely
fly to the secret island that only rich people know about.
Definitely. So, look, Celine's got 10.3 million listeners per month on Spotify. I'd say under the age of 18, she'd have 0.0 million Spotify listeners. I'd say that'd all be old cunts, probably. 18 cents for that. Don't waste your money. Go and buy 9 2-cent things that we've mentioned previously, I think. So, this one sucks. Fucking hell. Up next for 9 weeks, Christ on a Bike, 31st of August, is Los Del Rio Macarena.
Hey, Macarena.
Now, fucking hell, Tom, I hate a dance craze. I don't know about you, but the locomotion, Soulja Boy doing Crank That, Silent, Watch Me Whip It, Watch Me Nay Nay, Gangnam Style, YMCA, the Harlem Shake, the Nutbush City Limits. I don't have time for any of them.
What about the bus stop? How do you feel about the bus stop?
I like that one, yeah.
The hustle?
The hustle, yeah. Sorry, it's the exceptions that makes the rule, I guess. But so, yeah, look, this was released on an album in, I think, 1993.
Yes.
And then it was remixed by the Bayside Boys in 1996. So I initially thought that it took several years to reach number one, but it just turned out that... So we can't really blame Los Del Rio. They released this song in 1993. No one gave a flying fuck about it, really. Then the Bayside Boys came in, remixed it, and then in 1996 it became a dance sensation once they added a bit more of a dance beat, I think, to it, and some English lyrics. And fucking... It was a number one everywhere for a billion years.
No, it doesn't have English lyrics.
Oh, does it?
The radio version has...
Macarena.
Yeah, no.
Isn't there like a rap bit or something in it? Or, I don't know. There might be a remix.
So. Maybe there is. I don't think I've heard the Bayside Boys one, but I did know that it was a weird situation. So, Los Del Rio did the original, and then who appear to be 2 old guys.
Yep.
And then, some production and some background vocals. And then by the time it was a hit here... Someone, various other people had covered it, including a guy called Los Del Mar, or another group called Los Del Mar, and that was, people over here didn't know which one was which. They're both called Macarena. They have, 2 out of 3 words in the band names are the same, and so it seems like they just got bored at the same time by Macarena thirsty slapdicks who couldn't tell the difference, probably because there fucking isn't any really. No. And then, so they were just at number 1 and number 2, which is, I think that's an unprecedented occurrence of that actually happening.
Yeah, that's right. So this is number 1.
Or maybe not since, what was it? Maybe it was fucking Funky Town or something.
Or the Metallica Unforgiven and Unforgiven 2.
A song and a cover of a song both being in the charts at the same time. I think it was the only time it's been 1 and 2 in Australia anyway.
But you're right. So
that's, as you said, it's because it took several years to take off overseas.
With some remixes and stuff. But yeah, exactly. So you're right. There's a point in time when you're turning on the radio to listen to the top 40 or turning on radio or whatever. Number 2 is the Macarena. Number 1... another Macarena.
Yeah, and without any context, because it's in a foreign language and you don't know, you never heard of any of this stuff. Like, how would you know which one? It's like when there were like 3 movies simultaneously proclaiming that they were about Lambada, the dance of Forbidden Dance.
The Forbidden Dance.
Like, how the hell would you know which one was the real Lambada? Like, you're from friggin' Launceston. How would you know?
Oh,
the
exactly.
most dancing you've done is dancing around the enormous pile of spew outside the men's toilet at the saloon on a Friday night.
Look, would you say that, having Lost El Rio at number 1 and Lost El Mar at number 2 with effectively, the same song, it's a moment of collective madness from the Australian public, you would say,
I think
where
so.
people, just Macarena just took people's... it was at the BSE time, is it the mad cow disease, where people eating that mad cow beef, they'd lost their minds and they just went, I just need more Macarena. That's the only explanation for me, I think. Look... Give your body joy, Macarena, that your body is to give joy and good things. Now, that's the lyrics. What does it mean?
Well, I actually know the answer to that. You want to get to it, or
please.
we could go ahead. We could do a bit more about it. That's the lyrical.
Oh,
spotlight.
sorry. Was that? Have I broken into your lyrical?
No. That's fine. I mean, with any foreign language song, as a lyrics dork, I'm always just curious as to what it actually means.
Yeah.
I mean, like with La Bamba previously, there's there's enough colloquialisms and stuff that it's a little bit kind of, there's like slightly different variations, but basically, okay, so you've got give happiness to your body, Macarena, because your body is for giving happiness and nice things too. Give happiness to your body, Macarena. Hey, Macarena. That's the chorus.
Yep.
So it's basically just like get out and dance, have a good time. Okay, so verse 1 is Macarena has a boyfriend who they call by the name Vitorino, and while he was taking his oath as a conscript, she was giving it to 2 of his friends. Hey! So, Macarena is about a chick called Macarena who's boning half the village while her boyfriend Vitorino, who's hopefully not connected, is in basic training for the army. That's what that song is about.
That's great.
So maybe that has something to do with the 2 old guys that you see.
I'd say so.
So, there's another couple of verses along those same lines, but yes.
Really gives it a new meaning, one that I didn't really know about.
But sounds more cheerful than that would suggest. But
absolutely. Look, so as we mentioned, number 2 and number 1 at the same time, but Australians couldn't get enough of this fucking bullshit because there was a Christmas version, Tom.
Oh, Christ almighty.
So the Macarena Christmas remix, which went to number 5 in Australia. So was there like, I don't know, what sort of drugs, or some sort of like, psychotropic drug
Something
leaked into the waterways?
Supply,
I mean, because fuck me, can you imagine, buying a copy of Lost El Rio, Lost El Mar, the Macarena, then fast forward to December and just going,
I need another taste.
I need another taste of that.
Exact song.
It's the exact same song, but someone's just done some jingle, like bells ringing on top of it or some bullshit. I mean, fuck, that sucks. Look, in 2019, this song was, covered by Tyga, who's an American rapper, one of those rap star guys that they've got. He used to go with one of the Jenners, Kylie Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner, one of those kids,
right.
can't remember. And the music video paid homage to the Jim Carrey film The Mask. So you get 2 levels of magic there. It's a Macarena cover, and you're referencing The Mask in 2019. 25 years after the fucking film came out.
Have you actually heard that?
Yeah, it's terrible, and the music video is terrible.
Oh my god, I heard it in a sneaker shop like a year ago, and my jaw dropped. Jim Carrey in The Mask style, at the almost insanity-threatening level of worthlessness coming out of the fucking radio.
Yeah.
Again, it's just the original song, except with monotonal, non-rhyming rhymes mumbled about how all women are dumb sluts that deserve to be taken advantage of, and 86 uses of the N-word. And after the 20 lines of that, it's back to a chorus of the Macarena.
Yeah, look,
just fucking oath, these people. Go back to primary school, for Christ's sake.
Tom, somebody stop me, I wish, please. Sorry, somebody stop me. I wish someone had said that to Tiger or whatever, because it's hot garbage.
He was certainly smoking pole when he came up with that idea.
At what point does one in their music career say, remember that dance craze from 1995, 96. That's 20 years ago. Let's bring that back.
Yeah, it needs more racial slurs and 30-year-old misogyny.
Yeah, look, total trash. I mean, look, do you have anything else to say about the Macarena?
Absolutely not.
No, fuck, it sucks. Don't listen
I mean, it is
to
still catchy, don't get me wrong, but no, there's no need for that.
Yeah, look, Lost Del Rio, 2.2 million listeners on Spotify. It's going to cost you 31 cents, and interestingly,
31 cents.
The Lost Del Mar copy will also cost you 31 cents. So you can get both Lost Del Rio and Lost Del Mar Macarena singles for a combined total of 62 cents. So if there's someone you really fucking hate, maybe give them that and the Macarena Christmas remix.
Did you have any friends who knew how to do the Macarena at the time?
I think like maybe ironically 2 moves from not the whole thing.
I knew a couple of girls who
I don't know. I think by 1996 I was in that. This is the sort of period of time where I think I had definitely turned a blind eye to the pop charts.
Yes,
I know all these songs, but certainly from the 80s and 90s, like I was watching Rage, I was watching the pop stuff, whereas by this time I was watching Rage at night time.
Yes. I know exactly what you mean. I kept hearing people mention the Macarena, but I didn't actually know what they were talking about. I just knew it was some dance thing.
You'd hear it in
or in Target or something, and not make the connection because it doesn't,
Yeah.
And then I remember seeing it finally and going, "Oh, is that what that was that everyone was talking about?" But yeah, like you say, 5 years before, I would have definitely watched it on,
absolutely
Countdown in the morning.
Yeah. So look, that sucks.
The afternoon show with James Valentine.
Yeah. Finishing off the year.
Big finish.
11 weeks. That's effectively, 3 months. Spice Girls Wannabe. Boom.
Their debut
single. If you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends. Has anyone ever figured out what the fuck that means?
Well, it depends how randy you're feeling at the time, I guess. But as we'll get
You've got to get with my... I assume it just means if you want to be my lover, then you need to also respect my friendship with my friends.
Yeah.
Not bang my friends. I assume they're not talking in that sort of territory.
Definitely, this song is not missing euphemisms. So, the idea that had not occurred to them, I think you might be a bit naive to think that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, anyway, apparently, everyone's heard this song. I don't need to talk about the background too much. Everyone knows who the Spice Girls are, I assume. But apparently Mel B wrote there's a rap bit in this song. Here's a story from A to B. You're going to get with me, bass in your face or some shit. Apparently she wrote this in the toilet. She went to take a piss or something and was just sitting in the toilet, penned the lyrics in 8 minutes.
See, I told you we needed a name for this. This is another one. They said apparently Wannabe was finished in half an hour. They had some beats and stuff that they'd used before, but they were in the studio and they said they just did it all in a flurry of activity. Maybe she went out to the toilet, then came back.
Melby's taking a dump to write the rap,
and the whole thing was recorded in less than an hour.
Yep.
So the song was written by the Spice Girls and their producers Mike Stannard and Mike Rowe. Although the label didn't like the final version and said it should be mixed by Dave Way, and he sent back a sort of R&B tinged version and more like a sort of rocky version, and the group hated his stuff, and so they sent it to 5-time Grammy winner Mark Stent, who produced the final version. So it did take a bit of mucking around. But it just genuinely sounded like it was a collaborative effort. It's not like they were just handed this and sung. In fact, ironically, the only person who missed out was Victoria Beckham because she was off sick or something.
Oh, no.
So she's got backing vocals on it, but she doesn't actually sing. And you notice it if you watch the video. She opens her mouth at one point and it's sort of the camera kind of moves fairly quickly away before you can see that it doesn't actually match up with any words.
She didn't have the best vocals anyway, let's face it. I don't really know.
None of them really did. Sure.
I think she was a notch below the others who were a bit shit.
I'll give them credit for another thing too. The label wanted Say You Will Be There to be the debut single. But the band fought really hard for this one. Apparently, they really had to push for it.
Yep.
So props to them because this is way more fun than that song.
Yeah, that one's
and
more boring.
It introduces their whole sort of hose before bros, diet, riot girl vibe way better. The song introduces all the different people. You can see the sort of characters. Even the video is way better. Like the Say You'll Be There video is just them standing in the desert throwing a CGI boomerang at some water bottles for some fucking reason.
This one's fun in the hotel and up the stairs and that shit.
Yeah.
So.
It's a way better debut. You know?
Even
though it is kind of wacky, it's still a bit weird. Like, even the video features them being more annoying than fun, really. They're just being absolute... Oh, not just that, but they're like being complete pricks to everyone at the big party.
Is it
like, they're just vandalising shit and throwing people's food away and stuff. I don't know.
Can you answer... Is it a single shot?
It looks like it is, but it's actually two bits cleverly put together.
So they've done it twice, and there's a cut. But there's only one cut in there then. So
I don't know if it's one cut or not, but it's two takes mixed together. But it does look like one thing, and you can see them like because it's all indoors as well. It's going around through the building and stuff, and so you can see them like constantly like glancing over their shoulders to like see if they're about to walk backwards into shit and stuff. Because it's like a kind of sort of like a clunky old stone cathedral, but more like a museum than anything. And there are all these... There must be like 50 extras and stuff around who all have to do various bits and pieces. It must have been... It is pretty impressive. It must have been hard to do. And there's shit like them. They're all choreographed. She's doing fucking backflips down the table. There's all sorts of shit, you know, just props and things hanging around. And again... When they gave it to the record company went, this is too loud and annoying and weird, and there's like mistakes in it, like people looking behind them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they were like, nah, we want it, we think it's really good. And again, they were right. Like, it was a massive hit. Like, there was this American music journalist saying, I'd never even heard of fucking Spice Girls when I saw this. And then they was on MTV one time, and like after watching the video once, I felt like, okay, I know who all these characters are supposed to be. I know what their different bits, their different personalities are meant to be, and I get the whole vibe of the whole thing after a 3-minute song, which is pretty cool, you know.
Absolutely right. I think that video clip's iconic, and you're right, Tom. You watch that video, you go, there's the sporty one, there's the posh one.
Who doesn't sing much.
There's the scary one. There's the baby one. Because she's black, exactly. Yeah, I always found that weird. It's like, why is she Scary Spice again? So,
you also can't help but notice that Scary Spice is not wearing a bra, and it's fairly cold in that castle.
Yeah, and then Ginger one, she's the ginger one, and she's got ginger hair. So
I guess.
I feel with that, Tom, that they sort of went, okay, you know, one of them just went, Mel B was like, oh, look, I wear tracksuits a lot, I'm quite active, and they went, you can be Sporty Spice.
Yeah.
And then they
she
went,
can do
all
a
right,
backflip.
Fuck yeah, okay, everyone has to have a personality. What about you? You're the youngest one, you can be Baby Spice. And it's just like, and then they've just run out and just went... You got a handbag, you can be Posh Spice.
I'm not sure if they gave themselves those names. I think they might have been given them by the tabloid.
Oh, okay.
Which might explain why the black one is the scary one, if it was the Daily Mail.
Probably,
but then, I mean, they kept using them, like they adopted those things. And they were dressed sort of to match these things, as you say, like... it
was pretty tenuous though. I think some of those links. So I think I prefer the OG boy band formula of the boy next door, the wild card, the bad boy, etc. So I think that sort of plays a bit better. But yeah, certainly. You're right though. It certainly set the scene. Everyone enjoyed this song. Years later though, once the group broke up, Scary Spice claimed that she'd banged Ginger Spice. She came out in an interview and said, yeah, me and Ginger Spice got together one day, hooked up, good times. And then Ginger Spice denied it, got a bit awkward, and then Baby Spice said that she felt left out of this non-event gangbang type scenario. What's going on with the Spice Girls here? As
a dude who turned 18 in 1996, I wouldn't be totally offended if we just talked about that for the rest of the episode, but, carry on.
It seemed like a bizarre sort of interview.
It's also, people might have already forgotten, but Scary Spice also became pregnant with Eddie Murphy's
She sure did.
Child, and Absolutely. He denied it, I think, and she had to sue him for paternity or something like that.
It sounds like
you'd
Scary...
be embarrassed about that. She's a total babe. She's still a total babe. She's doing like Weight Watchers commercials and stuff now. She was on She was on The Voice or something recently, or The View, one of those fucking shows.
Yeah, but look, there's certainly some repeat behaviour here, isn't there? Where Ginger Spice has sort of said, "No, we didn't bone." And then...
I thought you were talking about Eddie Murphy.
No, Eddie Murphy's the same. But that's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah,
Scary Spice is like, and then, me and Ginger hooked up. And Ginger's like, nah. And then Eddie Murphy's like, oh, no. So I think...
I thought you were going to say that maybe Eddie Murphy had thought that Scary Spice was actually possibly a man under the outfit, given his record.
Could be. I don't know. We'll find out.
Who knows?
Only time will tell. Look, they released 10 singles in the UK in their career, and 9 of them went to number 1, so that's pretty good. The only one that didn't reach number 1 was Don't Stop. Right now, thank you very much. I need someone with a human touch. There you go.
Yeah, look, I reckon this is a catchy song, Ben. I'm sorry, it's silly as hell, and there's about 1.5 singers between the 5 of them.
Yeah.
But for the first single from a manufactured girl group, even if you hate it, you've got to admit that it is memorable.
Yeah.
But can you name the debut single for Backstreet Boys?
I Want It That Way? No.
No, it's We've Got It Going On.
Oh.
I thought it was Backstreet's Back, and I was like, no, it can't be Backstreet's Back, you dickhead, because they're back.
Yeah.
New Kids on the Block?
The Right Stuff?
No, it's Be My Girl.
Never heard of it.
Or Take That.
Want You Back for Good?
Do What You Like. Even House of Love by E17 is primarily remembered for the hats now.
Yeah.
And if you think the Spice Girls are rough at singing, then brace yourself for a re-listen of that fucking song, I tell you what. So, yeah, I mean, I think, it is, they made a good decision for this as a debut one, and it's definitely, it's definitely memorable. There was a poll in the UK, there was I think it was, some university, and they did like 14,000 people, and they played them, so 200 starts of songs, like the first 20 seconds of songs, and then they put together a thing of to see which one over the average was the one that people could identify the fastest, and this had the fastest speed. I think it was this, then it was Eye of the Tiger, and then it was another British pop song, something like Rick Astley or something like that. But yeah,
it is very recognisable, certainly.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely, no, that's pretty good. Look, they also sound like they've got some funny stories, the Spice Girls. Apparently, Mel B admitted to swiping toilet paper from Nelson Mandela's house. So that raises a lot of questions. Why are the Spice Girls at Nelson Mandela's house in the first place? How the fuck did that happen? And then... Mel B writes her best lyrics while taking a dump, so as we've learnt from this song. So she said to Nelson, just got to go snap one else. I've got some lyrics to write for a new song tomorrow. While I'm in there, just throw a roll into the handbag. And, she did love those baggy track pants, so maybe a few rolls, and then gets out of there. So
maybe it was a souvenir, or maybe it was just that share house thing where you just go out on the town and then you remember, oh, fuck, we don't have any toilet paper at home. I better mix some
I'm at Nelson's
saloon.
Why not? So do that. Apparently, Victoria Beckham recalls that when they got their record deal, the girls just stole her underpants off her and threw them out a window. So how does that? We've just got a record deal. Why are you ripping my underpants off and throwing them out a window? That's pretty weird. And apparently, Baby Spice once got sick in the car after a night of drinking, and some of the vomit got in Mel B's mouth. So, just great stories.
Great
just
stories.
A lot of
It's
fun.
not quite up to the level of debauchery of, say, Marilyn Manson or something.
No.
But it does seem like they were having fun.
Yeah, exactly. And Ginger Spice, I think, also pinched Prince Charles's bottom once, so for sure. Fortunately, it wasn't Prince Andrew, because I don't know.
Where did that happen? Where did that take place?
I think it was at the premiere of their film Spice World, which, if you've seen that, that's fucking hot garbage, but a bit of fun.
Again, as you said, a better question would be what the hell Prince Charles was doing at the premiere of the Spice Girls movie. He's lucky he didn't get sexually assaulted and then vomited on by a screaming pack of tween girls high on blue curacao and incipient feminism.
It's sort of what are you up to?
They seem to be the main fans.
Is that what being is that, he cuts ribbons at buildings, he starts a charity, goes to see Spice Girls film. I guess this is part and parcel of the whole thing, isn't it? So
I do remember it did have Stephen Fry and Richard E. Grant in it, plus a whole bunch of every other British comedy person you could possibly think of. So
absolutely,
I don't know. Look, this one other thing. This contains only one sample. Again, I assumed that the thing that sort of powers the whole song would be a sample, but it's not. It actually contains only one sample, which is a breakbeat from Hot Pants brackets I'm Coming in brackets by James Brown collaborator Bobby Bird. Now, you might recognise that little breakbeat if you hear it, because it's at the start of Fool's Gold by Stone Roses. That sort of It's also been used in literally 800 other songs, including Pump Up the Volume, Duran Duran, Madonna, Rammstein, I'm Too Sexy, Halcyon by Orbital, Charlie by The Prodigy, Public Enemy, New Order, 9 Inch Nails, Right on Time, Snap, U2, Bowie, Moby, Woody Allen, Danny Minogue, Kylie Minogue, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Starship Idleweiss, Jovanotti, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, New Kids on the Block, every rapper in the entire world, Vanilla Ice, and literally 750 other songs. And, of course, the one most people will know it from, One Shot Killer Pussy by Amen Andrews and Spackhand Luke, which, you know, I'm sure we'll be getting to that next year.
Yeah, we will, yeah, absolutely. Good to see Starship Idleweiss was in there too.
And Jovanotti.
We spoke about them.
I didn't think we'd hear from either of them
ever again. No, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it does beg the question. Hot Pants brackets I'm Coming in brackets came out in 1972. Did it take 30 years before anyone else could figure out how to play a fucking breakbeat on a snare drum?
Yeah, look, apparently it must have taken forever because, I don't really know why...
Some of these things just get recycled infinitely. It's really weird.
Yeah, what's that? Isn't there that in films where someone does like a...
Oh, the Heinrich scream.
Yep.
Yeah. That was more of a joke.
Yeah, it's exactly.
But it's getting to that level. It's getting up to 800 films, I think.
Exactly. Look, that's a fun song. I think it's pretty fun. I've always liked the Spice Girls. Some of them are shitter than others. When they get into ballad territory, because they can't really sing, it gets kind of dog shit. But when they keep it upbeat, it's all good. So, absolutely. So, that's it for the year, Tom. Fantastic. Sure. You got some lyrical highlights for me before we knock off?
Oh, not much. I was just going to point out one thing, from that awesome rap, is that they've snuck in a little Ebenezer Good trick there. So here's a story from A to Z. You want to get with me, you got to listen carefully. We've got M in the place who likes it in your face. We've got G like MC, that's a weird cricketing reference, who likes it on an easy V, doesn't come for free, she's real lady. That's an ecstasy reference.
Really?
But it's got to be. That's what it means. We've got G like MC who likes it on an E, and she drags it in the next line.
Easy V.
I mean, the 13-year-old audience wouldn't know that, but anyway.
Fantastic. Done an Ebenezer Good. Absolutely.
Also, it's worth noticing that the first song that they recorded for the album, apparently the lyrics were too filthy and they didn't put it on the album.
Really?
The record company's like, no, you can't fucking have that. I'm like,
fantastic.
Okay. So obviously they were slightly
respect.
dirtier than their reputation was. That's what I meant about the idea that, that if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends.
Yeah.
I think it'd be naive to think that the other meaning of that had not occurred to them at some point.
Yeah, no doubt.
If they're throwing each other's underpants out the window at passing traffic and throwing up on Prince Charles.
Things are getting crazy, indeed. But look, songs that peaked at number 2, unfortunately some of my favourite songs. I can't believe it. It's so good. Boom, Boom, Boom by the Out There Brothers. Boom, Boom, let me hear, see, well. Now, we've talked about this earlier, Tom, where there's Boom, Boom by Paul Lukakus was a number 1 that we hit. And then I think we're going to find out in the future the Venga Boys, Boom, 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 I Want You in My Room.
There was Boom, 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 Let's Go Back to My Room. That was Paul Lukakus.
And then there's...
Boom, Boom.
I think that song's just called Boom, Boom.
Yeah.
And then there's Boom, 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 Boom by the Venga Boys. Yep. And this is 3 booms in between. And I think that
there's also Boom, Boom, Boom by Johnny Lee Hooker.
Did that make it to number 1?
No, and it's not a dance song, so I should probably shut up.
No, but I think the point I'm trying to make is people only like prime numbers with this.
Yes.
They only like things... So... 4 booms or 2 booms are fine, not prime numbers. I'm talking about even divisible numbers. So, yeah. But yeah, so the Out There Brothers, that one's fantastic. One Sweet Day by Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men. Be My Lover by La Bouche.
Oh, so close.
Fucking hell,
So
that's one of
close.
my all-time. La Bouche, you know,
that's a true Eurobeat.
oh, they're in my top 4. I just called them. They're in the.
What else did they have? Could you name any other songs?
Be My Lover, and then they've got like one other hit. So
Sure, I'm sure.
I'll let you know. Yep. Missing Everything But the Girl.
Your favourites.
Yep. The X-Files theme by Triple X, if you remember that.
What a time the 90s were.
Yeah. Nobody Knows by the Tony Rich Project. The theme from Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
That deserves... That's like a fucking... that's like the bloody I Dream of Jeannie one that was in that band from the previous year. Dimples D.
Dimples D, yeah.
Where the credit for that entirely goes to the person who composed that original theme, because the Mission Impossible theme is timeless. It's like
absolutely.
one of the best TV themes of all time. They barely tweaked it. They just gave it a little bit of a techno beat.
Well, what's better, is it Mission Impossible theme by the two Adam Clayton and Larry Mullins from U2, or is it when Limp Bizkit do the Mission Impossible theme? I think they do it. They don't do it.
Do they?
Do you remember how bad that is? Yeah. The other La Bouche song is "Sweet Dreams of a Rhythm and Dancing."
Oh, yeah.
So it's good.
He didn't need to look that up either, I should say.
No, that's true. I just got off the top of my head. Return of the Mac by Mark Morrison. Return of the Mac.
Yep.
The other Macarena, fucking hell. Yep. Hero of the Day by Metallica.
That
sucked. Yeah, and then a few other ones. What's Love Got to Do with It? Warren G.
I forgot he killed
Yes, there's a few other ones. Breakfast at Tiffany's by Deep Blue Something Rich, number 3. Now, that's one of the worst songs of all time.
It is dog shit. That was so sketchy that I assumed that was like an Australian, like a one-hit wonder, but it's not. It was an American.
Yeah,
band.
I mean,
it's still a terrible song.
The lyrics are so fucking stupid. I can't even understand it. It's sort of like, the song's effectively, about we don't have anything in common. So why are we together in this relationship? We both like Breakfast at Tiffany's. Hey. And then the next thing is she goes, yeah, from what I recall, we both kind of liked it. So two people...
Didn't even like it that much.
Two people sort of kind of enjoy the same film, but not that much. So let's stick together. No, fucking break up. I think
reckon
you'd be
their
better off
favourite
without each
part
other.
was probably the landlord anyway.
Absolutely. Spaceman by Babylon Zoo. Did you know?
Spaceman.
Do you know that's one of my favourite stories of a song that it's a number one. It was a number one song in the UK, and you know how we talked earlier today about Shaggy being in the Levi's ad.
Yeah.
So Levi's ads in the UK, there was a period of time where apparently they got all that. So anyway, so what happened was Babylon Zoo released this song called Spaceman. That, you know how it has that really high pitched annoying Spaceman at the start. Mm-hmm. That's not in the original song. The original song is just like a post grunge regular song.
Oh, okay.
But the B side or whatever, they pressed up a single and a DJ did a remix that does that Spaceman thing.
Yep.
It was so a club DJ was playing it one night at the wrong speed, so it was extra fast and extra high pitched. And two dudes that walked in from like an ad company, I think, that were doing the ad for Levi's, heard that and went, "What's that? What's that?" So they said, "We want that." So they played just the high-pitched Spaceman sort of dancey bit in the Levi's ad before the song had come out. So everybody heard that, and then they went, "What's this? What's this?"
Song.
So they went and pre-ordered, and the pre-orders went apeshit. So then when it came out, they'd sold so many copies it went straight to number one in the UK. But that's the first 10 seconds of the song. Then it just goes into this really annoying
it's not
post-grunge shitty song. So it sort of made its way to number one off of by tricking the general public into buying it. So Power to Babylon Zoo, massive respect to that. Ironic, Alanis Morissette reached number 3.
It's
ironic. Stupid it is.
Like the song, it's not ironic.
Exactly. And then other major hits were...
the theme song for Friends.
I'll Be There For You by the Rembrandts. Theme song from Friends, I Want You, Savage Garden, California Love by Tupac. Sometimes When We Touch by Newton.
That needed another
Just a Little Bit. Gina G. Children by Robert Miles. Mother, Mother by Tracy Bonham. Glycerine by Bush.
Bush often credited with being the official end of the grunge era because they were just some fucking upper middle class British private school students just pretending to be Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, that is the end of grunge.
Mind you, I did like that album at the time because I was 18, so whatever.
Oh So Quiet by Bjork. Digging on You, TLC.
That Girl by Maxi Priest with Shaggy. There you go.
Absolutely.
Just a backup collaboration to bring in the year.
Let's make it a night to remember by Bryan Adams. The night to remember that goes for a whole fucking year. Blue by Leanne Rimes, and one of my personal favourites, Tom Lump by the Presidents of the United States of America.
What the fuck were they about? You can't even blame Australia for that because that song was a top 10 hit in Europe and a big hit in Canada and America too.
Well, what was your favourite President song, Tom? Was it Lump? Was it June Buggy? Was it I'm Moving to the Country, I'm going to Eat a Lot of Peaches? I mean, so many.
My favourite Presidents of the United States of America fact is that, did you know that in the late 90s they formed a rock hip-hop group called Subset with Sir Mix-a-Lot? They toured and recorded a few songs but broke up when Sir Mix-a-Lot wanted to take the band in a harder, more electronic direction. They weren't into that.
Jesus Christ.
I mean,
that's fantastic.
That's the 90s thing I've heard, and I'd never even heard of that. Subset, there you go. I managed, even on YouTube, I can only find one song of theirs.
The Presidents of the United States of America and Sir Mix-a-Lot together.
At last, people have been dreaming about it for years,
I'm surprised that, the world didn't implode or something like that. It seems completely crazy. So, look, that's great. So, they're the songs that didn't make it. Unfortunately, this year, I probably would have had more to say about the songs that reached number 2 or 3.
Yeah, no, that last list was way more interesting.
Absolutely, yeah. I might go listen to Boom, Boom, Boom by the Out There Brothers right now, I think. So, fantastic song. But, yeah. So, anyway, thanks for listening. We've set up a YouTube channel with all the songs on there.
Oh, so, really? Oh, cool.
Well, it's a playlist, so it's in the description. So if you want to watch all the music videos to this, they're all on there. And I might add the Out There Brothers as a bonus track, just why not? And also we have an Instagram, Sunglasses at Night podcast Instagram, which there's fuck all on there, but it's just some. I think every time a new episode comes out, I'm just going to post a picture on there.
Sure.
And there's and the links to listen to this if you want to.
Throw in some dick pics, that's what people want.
Absolutely.
Is that what people want? I think that's what people want.
I don't know whether they want that on Instagram. That might be more of an OnlyFans thing, but I'm not quite sure. Wait and see. So, anyway, thank you.
Dick pics, I mean photographs of Richard Wilde from Wild and Reckless. Obviously, not penises. That'd be gross.
That would be gross indeed. So, yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week for 1997. Don't want to give anything away, but the first couple of weeks of 1997 is going to be a bit more wannabe by the Spice Girls.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.